2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming on YouTube, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. 855-212-4CBS is number to chime on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. We got an action-packed show for you today. Coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, former Seahawks linebacker KJ Wright is going to stop by. And, of course, as always, got Moist Mike and Stuart Kovacs rocking and rolling with me all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. So I am back from my time in Orlando from a very fun bachelor party. I am here for 3 days this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I'm off on more vacation going to Puerto Rico coming up on Thursday morning. So let's get right to it. And I saw a bunch of stuff over the weekend in the world of sports, and we're going to start the show with two reports. One about the uncertain future of Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, and then Peter King, who announced his retirement today. By the way, congratulations to the great Peter King, one of the preeminent sports writers to ever do it, and is a man that is just all class and is absolutely phenomenal and sensational at his job. But he also had a nugget about the first round pick, and he actually believes that the first overall pick, he supposes that the Bears are going to trade that top pick. So 2 stories to unpack inside the NFC North. And let's start with Justin Jefferson. Let me make this abundantly clear. The Minnesota Vikings would be absolute morons to trade Justin Jefferson. It would be idiotic, and it would make no sense. I don't care if his price is going up and up and up, and you're going to have to pay him north of $30 million a year because of the never-ending rising salary cap. Like, I don't care what the cost is of Justin Jefferson. The Vikings, and I said this about 9,000 times, they should have got the deal done last offseason. Because when you don't get the deal done last offseason, natural tension and sometimes some contentious situations could form, and you run the risk of Justin Jefferson getting PO'd with your franchise and either not wanting to come back or it getting to a point where this just keeps on going on and on and on, and it's unnecessary drama and unnecessary stories. So the Vikings have already dropped the ball by not already getting this deal done with Justin Jefferson. And I'll say it again. I don't care what the price tag is for Justin Jefferson. You cannot trade Justin Jefferson. I don't care if a team calls you up and offers you 2 first-round picks. You do not trade Justin Jefferson. Because if you do, you are heading towards a full rebuild. And that doesn't make sense to me why the Minnesota Vikings, who have a good team and who could be a quarterback away from being a contender in the NFC, would head to a full rebuild. And before people call me up and say, well, they have a quarterback in Kirk Cousins. Well, Kirk is a free agent. And I think that this front office has made it pretty damn clear through their actions that they don't intend, and their number one priority isn't to bring back Kirk Cousins. They tried to replace him or set the future up for their quarterback position in Minnesota last year, where if you go back to the NFL draft and you remember all the reporting, they aggressively tried to trade up in last year's draft to go acquire the services of Anthony Richardson. So Anthony Richardson was a fun prospect. Anthony Richardson was all based off potential. But if you were ready to move mountains for Anthony Richardson, why wouldn't you do so a year later when there are some prospects in the top 3 of the draft at the quarterback position that are more polished and perceived to have higher ceilings and be better quarterbacks than Anthony Richardson? Now, I don't know if the Vikings are going to be able to get a deal done with the Chicago Bears. I don't know if the Bears are trading the number 1 pick. But we told you about the Peter King report. And not only that, there was also another report over the weekend, and this was coming from Darren Wolfson, KSTP TV, who said that there's already been some homework done by the Minnesota Vikings to trading up into the top 3, and they had recent conversations going back to the Senior Bowl at the earliest with the New England Patriots, who hold the number 3 overall pick. So I'm just following the trail of crumbs that are being left throughout the last 2 years from the Minnesota Vikings. They are looking to go get a young quarterback in the draft. Now, you could argue if that's the right decision. You could say, okay, just get a deal done, iron out an extension with Kirk Cousins. Or maybe you go out there and you sign a veteran. And I don't think they'll be able to trade for Justin Fields, but maybe Russell Wilson is someone that is a possibility to be a stopgap. But you got to remember who the coach is of the Minnesota Vikings. That's Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell is one of the young, innovative minds in football. I don't think he's going to want to right now go with the veteran. Like, if you're moving off of Kirk Cousins, and I've been someone that suggested maybe it's Russell Wilson, maybe that's the plan if they aren't able to trade up in the draft. I do believe the Vikings, just following what happened last year with Anthony Richardson, and now the reporting this year, are really intrigued on moving up in the draft and going into the top 3 and getting a quarterback. But let's say you trade with the Patriots and Jaden Daniels is still there at 3. Why would you then trade Justin Jefferson? And if your only answer is to recoup some of the draft picks and the first-round draft picks to kind of negate them out that you had to trade to move into the top 3 to go get your quarterback, that doesn't really sit with me. Like, how many times do we talk about a young quarterback getting drafted and then going to a situation that doesn't have a lot around him? Justin Jefferson is a top 3 wide receiver in the sport. Justin Jefferson has been sensational, and he started his career at a historical pace the first 3 and 4 years in the NFL. Why wouldn't you get this deal done? Why wouldn't you trade into the top 3, get an explosive player with a ton of potential like Jaden Daniels, you get your young quarterback of the future, and immediately pair him with Justin Jefferson, get that contract extension done, Jordan Addison, who came on strong at the end of the year and is a first-round pick out of USC and Pitt, and that's how you start to form your future. It's with those 3 pieces on the offensive side of the ball. And you pair them with the head coach who's an offensive-minded head coach. Like, that to me seems like a no-brainer. And it would make no sense to want to move into the top 3 if you're Minnesota and not keep Justin Jefferson. It would be one of the dumbest decisions in football history right now when Justin Jefferson is right smack in the prime of his career and he's on a Hall of Fame pace and he's the face of your franchise to not get a deal done with him. So Minnesota, do us all a favor. Don't be stupid here. You can't afford to be stupid. You want to debate young quarterback and bringing back Kirk, bringing in a veteran, that's fine. But something that's not debatable, to me at least, is trading Justin Jefferson. You should have got the deal done last offseason. Now, anything short of not getting the deal done this offseason is just a disaster. And it would be just a definition of an incompetent organization. You have a chance to set up your organization for the foreseeable future if you get this draft process right with the quarterback and you do the smart thing, and that's giving a big, fat, lucrative extension to Jay Jettas. So that's number one. And I've made myself pretty damn clear in the last 10 minutes how stupid it would be if the Vikings elected to trade Justin Jefferson. But now let's go into the other story inside the NFC North. And last week, we all sat here, and we've made the case before why the Bears should trade the number 1 pick. But eventually, you need to separate what should happen and what will happen. And we went around this room last week when we were talking about will the Bears trade the number 1 overall pick. And Stu said yes, Samter said yes, and I said yes. And none of us really gave a great chance for Justin Fields to be back with the team next year. But Peter King, who is as respected as they come and is one of the more plugged-in NFL scribes that we have in America, he penned a farewell, no fanfare kind of article where he announced his retirement. Like, Peter King is getting up there in age. He's still flawless at his job. He is a legend. But no one was hearing that Peter King was going to retire when all of us blabbermouths were together in a room a little under a month ago at the Super Bowl. So Peter King, just in Peter King fashion, right? He's like Tim Duncan, just says, I'm walking away, I'm retiring. And in his column that came out yesterday, the Monday Morning Quarterback, or it's Football Morning in America now, not only did Peter King say that he was retiring, but he also gave us a pretty big nugget to chew on. And that nugget was this: I suppose the Bears are going to trade the top pick. I know nothing, but that seems to be the way the wind is blowing. So you hear that, and the first thing that jumps out to me is him saying, I know nothing. That's his way of saying, I'm not reporting it, but I'm just going off the scuttlebutt and the rumors and the speculation that people in the NFL are telling Peter King. That's the way that I read, I guess it's not a report, but however you want to call it, of Peter King in his column. And when I hear that, like internally, my body is screaming to me. And it's tough. It's conflicting emotions because I respect Peter King greatly. But I also have this rule: that a lot of the stuff that I hear leading up to the draft, starting this week of the Combine, so through the end of February with the few days that we have left in February, into March, and then into April, 9.9 times out of 10, since I don't know what the motives are of getting that information out there and where it's coming from, I tend to not believe, or I tend to question almost everything that gets reported. And in this case, it would go against the way that I felt what would happen. Not what should happen, but what would happen with the Chicago Bears. And I would still be surprised. But I guess now I wouldn't be shocked because it is Peter King saying this. If we get to the draft or leading up to the draft, because it wouldn't happen the day of the draft, it would happen a few weeks out. If we get some breaking news alert that the Bears are going to trade the number 1 overall pick. But my question then becomes, how far are you willing to fall back? Because in an ideal world, I know you wouldn't get the most in return, but the Bears move back 1 spot. They stay at 2. The Commanders come up. Caleb Williams goes to the Washington Commanders. And then at 2, the Bears draft Marvin Harrison Jr., and you pair up for Justin Fields for the foreseeable future, DJ Moore and Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, that would make sense. But you go through the rest of the teams, I don't think New England's coming up from 3-1. You know, the Cardinals, they're not coming up from 4-1. Chargers have Herbert. With the Giants, maybe Shannon Dayball trying to reset the time clock and give them more years. Would they go trade up for a quarterback? Kind of would be tough to do. Now it would excite the fan base, but you just paid Daniel Jones, who was not worth the money. Tennessee, I don't see trading up. Atlanta could be a team in at 8, and that would make sense. You know, it's not going to be the Jets at 10. Maybe it's Minnesota like we talked about at 11. Denver, they're looking for a quarterback. It could be at 12. And then you kind of draw the line in the sand at 13, where Stu's Raiders are. Like, after that, like when you start to get into 14, 15, 16, or even the 20 range, you could get into the top 3. You could get into the number 1 spot, but the price just keeps on going up and up and up. I will still believe that the Bears are going to keep the number 1 pick because, as Brian Urlacher told us, and I know that the Bears organization, they just have a history of messing up young quarterbacks, and it's probably more on the Bears on why Justin Fields did not succeed rather than Justin Fields. But when you sit there after 3 years of watching someone, you still can't guarantee me that he's a franchise quarterback. He's probably not a franchise quarterback. Now, that doesn't mean that Justin Fields can't go on to have a good career, because you could be good, and there's a difference from good to great. But inevitably, you're going to have to pay Justin Fields. And Caleb Williams, even though he did not have a great season a year ago at USC, he is perceived to be that next transcendent quarterback. Sometimes you are, sometimes you aren't. Now, I can make the argument here, and I have made the argument why the Bears should trade the number 1 pick. But even with the great Peter King penning his farewell to the NFL world for now, and he said that he supposed the Bears are going to trade the top pick, as much as I have to respect Peter King and listen to what Peter King says, until I get that news that the Bears are trading the top pick, I kind of think they're going to keep it still, and they'll end up selecting Caleb Williams out of USC and then trading Justin Fields for, let's say, probably a 2nd-round pick. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Should the Minnesota Vikings trade Justin Jefferson? I am telling you, absolutely not. Will the Chicago Bears trade the number 1 overall pick? Maybe a little bit of a different feeling today after the Peter King report, but ultimately I think the Bears take Caleb Williams at number 1. What say you? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We'll take a break. When we come on back, the Combine is getting ready to get underway. We'll look at my top 5 quarterbacks entering the 2024 NFL Draft when we return to the Zach Gelb Show in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio. Here's Zach Gelb.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. We're gearing up for the NFL Combine, and we'll have a ton of NFL draft talk from here all the way through the end of April when the draft does get underway in Detroit this year. Quarterbacks are always talked about. I know a lot of these quarterbacks at the Combine really don't do much. Like, you won't see really anything out of guys like Caleb Williams and Drake May. Like, they'll be there. They'll do interviews, but they're not really going to go through any of the drills because those are the guys that are at the top. And when you're perceived to be the guy or one of the guys, it's a dumb process. And I've always slammed the combine process where you would think someone like Caleb Williams could get on the field and throw the football around and kind of ooh and ah us, but he's in shorts and a T-shirt anyway, so what does it really mean? But you're showing off your arm strength. But they don't feel like there's any really incentive for him to do so. And I can't fault those top prospects that do the bare minimum at the combine because when you're already a top prospect, all that could happen to you in all likelihood is for something to happen and it doesn't result in a positive favor. Like, let's say if someone like Caleb Williams oohs and ahs us at the combine, is that going to be the determining factor? Is that going to improve his stock anymore? No, because he's perceived to be the guy that's going to be the number one overall pick, whether it's to the Chicago Bears or it's to somebody else. So I get it, but just as a football fan, even though I do laugh at a lot of the combine stuff, because guys put on tape for 2, 3, 4 years, and 1 or 2 days at the combine can catapult your draft stock, or it can make your draft stock plummet, which I always say, trust the tape, trust the tape, trust the tape. I think the combine's more important, not for how blazing fast of a 40 do you run, or what's your 3-cone drill time, or how far you could throw the football in shorts and a T-shirt. I think the interview process is important. But there is a downfall with the interview process. And I know that they've tried to put some punitive actions in there for executives that ask stupid things like, didn't someone ask, like, Des Bryant's once if your mother's like a hooker or a prostitute or something like that? And there's been a lot of other dumb things that have been asked throughout the years. So I say that with a grain of salt that, yes, I do believe that the interview process is important, but are these teams going to make themselves look like jackasses? And a lot of times, whether the name of the executive doesn't really get out, I remember that rare instance when it did in the whole Des Bryant situation. I think it was Jeff Ireland, too, was the GM at the time in Miami that asked Des Bryant that question, if I'm remembering right. But most of the time, you just hear of stupid things that have been asked, and you never find out who actually said them. So moving all that aside, this is a league now, and the way that a lot of us talk about the draft, it's quarterback, 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 and then who are your other playmakers that are not quarterbacks? Like, for example, Marvin Harrison Jr., stud. I think he's the best player, period, in this draft, but he won't be the number one overall pick. Rome Odunze, the receiver out of Washington. I think he could be a top 5 pick, but he will definitely be a top 10 pick. Brock Bowers, I'll tell you, it's weird. You watch a guy on TV so much, and then you see him in person, and sometimes they're bigger in person. That was the opposite with Brock Bowers. When we saw Brock Bowers walking around at Radio Row, and I said to Santa, I'm like, who is this guy? He looks familiar. And then you found out it was Brock Bowers, and he was standing next to Gronk, and Gronk has lost a lot of weight. And I'm like, I shouldn't be out on Brock Bowers just because this is the first time I saw him in person. But I was almost out on Brock Bowers, even though he is projected to go in the top 10. You know, you got a bunch of linemen as well, offensive linemen. Jared Verse is supposed to be a very good defensive end as well, coming out of Florida State, and we've been in on him all the way back to before the start of the season. So there's going to be at least 10 to 15 guys that will be talked about, and pretty much the conversation's going to be jammed down your throat from now until the end of April. But every year, quarterbacks are what sell, even in the years where you don't have a lot of quarterbacks go in the first round. Like you go back to 2-3 years ago when you only had one quarterback go in the first round, and it was Kenny Pickett. There was still a lot of extensive draft talk. And that was like one of the times where now we're just accustomed that bare minimum 3 guys are going to go in the first round that are quarterbacks. And maybe you could get 5 or 6 that end up going in the first round. But it doesn't always happen. But this draft class, like last year, I would have thought that 4 quarterbacks would have gone in the first round. I thought Will Levis would have been the 4th. And obviously Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson did go in the first. But this year it feels like you obviously have 3 locks to go in the first round. And then the question just becomes, will there be a 4th or a 5th? And I actually think right now that there's going to be 4 quarterbacks that go in the first round of the draft. And I'm not saying that these are the 4 best quarterbacks, but the 4 quarterbacks that I think will go in the first round are Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and then also I do believe J.J. McCarthy will find a way to slide into the first round. Michael Penix Jr., who I have ranked higher than J.J. McCarthy, we'll get to that in just a second. I think his injury history, with all the injuries at Indiana, is going to scare some teams off. Because you know what happens when you have this much time to analyze a prospect. You do too much analysis, and even when you hear some red flags, and the one red flag with Michael Penix Jr. are the injuries, they just get magnified, and the talk around the injuries grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's sometimes a way where a guy falls out of the first round. Like, I would not be shocked whatsoever if Michael Penix Jr. falls out of the first round. I'm as I said, I am picking Michael Penix Jr. to be an early second-round pick, but I do feel like it could be 50-50 on if it'll be a first-round pick or not. Because if you get past like 23 or 24, it's not always a lock that someone comes and gets you. Like last year, no one came and got Will Levis. You know, a few years back, Lamar Jackson was falling, and the Ravens ended up getting to the 32nd pick and trading up to go get Lamar Jackson. So it's not always just because you're falling, someone comes and gets you, and maybe you have to wait until the second round does begin. But for Michael Penix Jr., I think that's 50-50. And it's crazy because after the semifinal game that he had up against Texas, we were like talking about him, and the conversation around him was being a top 15 pick and maybe being the second or third quarterback in this draft. And then the national championship game comes, and the entire Washington team didn't play well. And then now it's, it's 50-50 if he's going to be a first-round pick. You know, he will not be there 5 to 10 picks after the second round. But this feels like a year where it's going to be 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the first round. I do think McCarthy will be the 4th quarterback off the board. To get to a 5th, I think it has to be Michael Penix Jr. Like, I don't see Bo Nix going in the first round. Spencer Rattler is not a first-round quarterback. Michael Pratt out of Tulane, who I liked the last 2 years, he's not a first-round quarterback either. So, long story short, I'll give you my rankings here 5-1 on the top 5 quarterbacks, in my opinion, in the NFL draft as we get set to gear up for the Combine. In at number 5, I think it's J.J. McCarthy. When I look at J.J. McCarthy, he did not have, it's weird when a guy went undefeated and won a national championship this year, for me to say that he didn't have a great season. Individually, didn't have a great season. But they played to the strengths of that team, which was big offensive line, good offensive line, and you had 2 running backs in Donovan Edwards, who's explosive, and then Blake Corum, who's been maybe the most reliable player in college football the last 2 or 3 seasons. So J.J. McCarthy, all he's done in high school and college, win. But he wasn't asked to put up prodigious stats at the position this year. He made a throw up against Ohio State, which was right in front of me, where I was sitting at that game, where he found Roman Wilson. That was just pinpoint accuracy. And when you look at JJ, he has the mix of someone that could have a good arm and a big arm, and he needs to develop into it, but he's also very mobile. And I think that kind of fits the position for where quarterback is at in the year of 2024, where you look for guys that not only have a good arm, but could also be athletic. And for JJ, something that he has to his resume, he's played in a lot of big games because Michigan's been one of the best teams in college football the last 3 years. So when I look at J.J. McCarthy, I don't think he should go in the first round. I think he will go in the first round. He's my 5th best quarterback entering this upcoming NFL draft. In at number 4, it's Michael Penix Jr. He has pinpoint accuracy. His accuracy, and that was on full display up against Texas, is just absolutely sick. I never thought he'd be a first-round pick when he left Indiana. Really, that when he was at Indiana, the only thing you remembered about him were injuries and then that controversial touchdown up against Penn State. But you got to see the last 2 years reunited with Kalen DeBoer and having good weapons around him too, what he's able to be as a quarterback. Because the last 2 years combined, he was talked about a lot to be a Heisman finalist 2 years ago, and a lot of people thought he got snubbed. And then this year he was a Heisman finalist and he was the Heisman runner-up. So the accuracy is there, but the injuries are going to be talked about a lot. And I think that's what makes him the fourth best quarterback in this draft. And the one concern are the injuries. In at number 3, it's Drake May. You know, what we saw from Drake May 2 years ago, you thought he was going to pop off this year. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't great. And he's got a big, strong arm. He has the mobility, as we all know. But when I watch him play, you think of ceiling for a guy. And for me, I just don't see a great ceiling for Drake May. That doesn't mean the guy's going to be trash. That doesn't mean the guy's going to be bad. But I think sometimes we just see quarterbacks that are going to be good or very good. And I think that's Drake May's ceiling, just being a very good quarterback. In at number 2 is Jaden Daniels. Now, Jaden Daniels is also someone that never really popped at Arizona State and then transfers. And the last 2 years, he was flawless individually at LSU. And you know what he could do through the air. And then the reason why he won the Heisman this year and why he ran away with it is because of what he did on the ground, with over 1,100 rushing yards on the ground. So there is a good mix there with the arm strength and then also the just insane rushing ability. And I think Jaden Daniels is the second best quarterback in this draft. And then number 1, for a lot of guys, we end up throwing out the Mahomes comparison. I think that's a problem with the draft, where it's like, oh, who compares to Mahomes? And there's always one guy that it's like, oh, it's not Mahomes, but maybe he could be like 50% of Mahomes or 45% of Mahomes. Caleb Williams, ever since Mahomes has been just phenomenal. He's the one guy where the comp for Patrick Mahomes is actually valid. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that he is Patrick Mahomes, because no one's Patrick Mahomes. He's one of one. And I didn't love Caleb Williams' season this past year. But what he did 2 years ago when he won the Heisman, you saw that Mahomes-like potential, where you know he has a big arm. Like Mahomes, he has mobility, but it's really to extend plays. Like, you see sometimes Mahomes take off and run, but most of Mahomes' running is behind the line of scrimmage, just going from sideline to sideline or moving around the pocket to extend the play. And Williams has the confidence, because I had a conversation with him, and Tom House, the legendary quarterback coach and quarterback guru, he compared him to Patrick Mahomes, and he doesn't think there's anything that Patrick Mahomes does that Caleb Williams can't do. And Caleb Williams basically reiterated that sentiment when I got a chance to talk to him at the Heisman 2 years ago. So when you have potential to be somewhat like Mahomes, you're going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And that's what Caleb Williams is going to be. So those are my 5 quarterbacks entering the combine, where I look at them and evaluate them. And those are my 5 guys, how I rank them heading into this NFL draft at the end of April. J.J. McCarthy in at 5, Michael Penix in at 4, Drake May 3, Jaden Daniels 2, and Caleb Williams in at 1. We'll take a break. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. When we come on back, Samter has some questions for me. I have some answers. We call this segment Onside Offside. We do it every Monday and Friday right here on CBS Sports Radio, only on the Zach Gelb Show. We'll take a timeout. Update time first. Here's the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career path with flexibility and great pay and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today. After winning his 3rd Super Bowl at age 65, Andy Reid isn't ready for retirement. The Chiefs coach is reportedly in talks with the team over an extension that will make him the highest paid coach in the NFL. T. Higgins won't hit the free agent market yet. The Bengals are reportedly using the franchise tag on him. It would pay him over $21 million next year. The Indiana Pacers made a big move at the deadline to acquire Pascal Siakam, and Indiana trying to make a charge up the Eastern Conference standings. They host the Raptors, looking for their 4th straight win. They're currently a game and a half behind the Knicks for 4th in the conference, and Miles Turner said they're looking to improve that standing.
I think we still have a lot of work to do. Obviously, I think we put ourselves in a good position, but we still have, 24 more games left to try to make some more hay. So, we want to try and host the playoffs as opposed to being on the road. So, we'll see.
The aforementioned Knicks will host the 8-win Pistons tonight. WNBA MVP Breanna Stewart reportedly agrees to a 1-year deal to return to the Liberty. Kike Hernandez going back to the Dodgers, who also dealt Manuel Margot to Minnesota. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, this is Bart Winkler. I've got a new show weeknights. Join me for the Bart Winkler Show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Only on CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb on CBS Sports Radio.
And it's time to ask the pros. You, the listener, gets to ask us a question. Brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. You can think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. All right, Moist Mike, what do you got cooking for us today?
We got a lot cooking here on the plate. We'll start out in the NFL, as we always do. The league is reportedly considering adopting the XFL's kickoff rule, where once the ball is kicked, only the kicker and the returner can move until the ball is actually fielded. At that point, that's when the rest of the return and kickoff team can move.
Okay.
The point of this is it leads to less high-speed collisions and impact. It also gives returners more of an opportunity to return the ball. We saw this year that the percentage of returns in the NFL was at an all-time low.
Yeah.
So, yes, they were avoiding injuries, but there were no kickoff returns going around the league. So this kind of solves both of those. So, onside, offsides. The NFL should adopt this new kickoff rule.
So I'm going to say offside, and here's why. I am pro kickoff. I would not have really changed the kickoff that much. I think it's one of those talking points where the NFL, who I don't think truly cares about player safety the way that they say they do, but that was one of their sacrifices to make it actually appear like they do care about player safety. So they practically wanted the kickoff to go away, and now they're annoyed that it practically has gone away, so you're trying to improve it. Since they didn't care for it in the beginning, I just think you continue to non-care about it now, and you rarely see kickoff returns, and it would be an extreme rarity when you get to see one that ends up going 100-something yards to the house on a breakdown in coverage or something along those lines. So the NFL should adopt this new kickoff rule. I would say offside. And also, man, that would create a lot more returns, and I know that you are decreasing the amount of high-impact collisions because those guys wouldn't be able to start running until, right, the kick returner ends up making a move. But then what happens when the guy gets to the 35-yard line and gets popped? Then everyone's going to start saying, oh, we need to change the kickoff rule. So the NFL wanted the kickoff to practically go away. Now it has. It stinks, but I don't think now you all of a sudden go back to try to get more kickoffs into the game. So I would go offside.
Offside.
Now, one rule that the NFL reportedly will not change is the fumble out of the end zone rule that gives the ball to the defense. Now, while the NFLPA wants to have discussions on the matter, Judy Batista reports there's little traction for change. So onside, offside, they should change this rule. We can discuss how to change it, but at the very least, they should change it.
So I have been with the majority up until this year. It's a stupid rule. You fumble the ball out at the 1-yard line. You get it back at the 1, but you fumble it out of the end zone. Then the other team gets the ball, and it's a touchback. But then I heard someone say this, and I forget who said it, but I agree with it at the time. We now make this league offense, 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 offense. And almost every rule is catered towards the offense. The one rule that actually gives the defense a benefit, we're now trying to take that away. And since I like defense, and also the coach that I love for 20-something years, Bill Belichick, would always preach, do not extend that ball out unless you have to. That comes back to coaching. And I think that is something that is an exciting play, even though it drives people nuts. And look, we saw it twice this year in the playoffs with it impact games. But I'm fine with that because now we try to strip away everything from the defense. I don't want to strip away the only rule that I could think of that really does favor the defense. So they should change this rule. I am going to actually go with offside.
Now, the Arizona Cardinals, I know we were talking about the quarterbacks. They have the 4th pick in the draft, and most assume they'll draft Marvin Harrison Jr. if he's available, or another receiver to complement Kyler Murray. Today, the Cardinals tweeted a picture of Murray with the caption, quote, "Our franchise QB." So onside, offside, if one of the top 3 QBs, either Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels, is available at number 4, the Cardinals should draft a quarterback.
So, was there a lot of steam and momentum being picked up that the Cardinals had to tweet this out? Because I don't think there were a lot of people that were doing takes on the radio or television. Oh, the Cardinals need to draft the quarterback at 4. Everyone's been saying Marvin Harrison Jr., 1, 2, 3 quarterback, and then you get Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4. Even if a quarterback falls to them, and I think it would be Drake May if any of the quarterbacks were to fall to 4, I don't think the Cardinals should take a quarterback. I don't. Kyler Murray has showed before in this league that he could be good. Now, he needs to mature a little bit. You need to study a little bit more. You need to be a little bit more of a professional. But this guy was a winner in high school. He's been a winner in college. He's made the playoffs before in the NFL. And now he's fully recovered from the ACL injury. And I've always said it takes a full year for you to mentally recover before you're back to being yourself. And the Cardinals are a positive story. I don't think they need to take a quarterback. Continue to build that roster around Kyler Murray. And if Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't there, then take Rome Odunze with the 4th pick. That's what I would say. So when you ask me if one of the 3 QBs and Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels available at 4, the Cardinals should draft him, I'm going offside on this one.
Offside.
The only one I think that you would end up drafting a quarterback for with Arizona would be Caleb Williams. He's not getting to 4. There is a 0% chance he gets to 4. And I like Daniels, as I just said in the last segment, over May. But I don't think Daniels is going to be there at 4 either.
So the question really is, do you believe in Kyler Murray, or you just think it's better for them to try to build around him than it is to start all over with a new quarterback?
I think Kyler Murray is a good quarterback that has potential to be great. But potential means you haven't done it yet. And he needs to end up in the next year or 2 taking that next step. So I don't think they should, because he's shown you he is good and he could be great. So with all that being said, when you just paid him to, it wouldn't make sense to then have to try to go trade him right now after he did well down the stretch coming back from that injury.
Now, speaking of the draft quarterbacks, reports indicate that neither Caleb Williams nor Jaden Daniels will throw at the combine. Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., J.J. McCarthy, and Spencer Rattler have announced that they will throw, but there's no announcement yet regarding Drake May whether he'll throw at the combine.
Yeah.
Onside, offside. Top quarterbacks should never throw at the combine and wait for their pro day.
So I don't like it, but I'll be fair here. I guess the answer is on sides. Because you just said it, top quarterbacks. What is there for them to gain by throwing at the combine? When everyone's just looking to criticize at the combine. They've already solidified themselves, Williams and Daniels. Williams being the number 1 pick, and Daniels at the latest being the 3rd overall pick in this year's draft. There's no benefit. It doesn't behoove them to throw, even though I would like to see it. But just because I want to see something doesn't mean that's the way that I would advise you to do something. So I'm going to say onside, top QB should never throw out the combine.
Most believe that the Bucs and Mike Evans were headed toward a divorce, and while it appears they won't be able to
this
work
was
out
an interesting report.
A new deal before free agency begins, ESPN reports that in an ideal world, the Bucs want Evans back, and Evans reportedly wants to retire as a Buc and remain there in Tampa.
Well, then pay him for what he's worth.
So onside, offside. I know you said earlier a couple weeks ago that Mike Evans will be with the Texans, but onside, offside, Mike Evans will re-sign in Tampa.
I think he does want to get a deal done, and I think the Bucs want to get a deal done. But there's a difference in saying you want to get a deal done and then actually paying someone what they're worth as they're getting up there in age. And that's what I don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will match the energy of wanting him back with the contract. That's why I still believe, bearing him taking a discount, which I don't think he will, that Mike Evans will be somewhere else next season. So Mike Evans will re-sign in Tampa Bay. I'm going to go offside.
Offside.
Now, while NILs have become the wild, wild west in college sports, some around the NCAA have propositioned that schools pay the athletes directly. This week, however, new NCAA president Charlie Baker said, quote, 95%...
He still has that title?
Yeah, I know, it's great. No, well, I mean...
Mark Emmert was the old one. Charlie Baker's taking over.
He was
what was he? governor?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's
Political
taking over as the
figure
new
in
president when Mark
Boston?
Emmert leaves. Yes, correct. He said that 95% of colleges would not be able to afford to pay
Governor of
athletes directly.
Massachusetts.
There you go. So 95% of colleges would not be able to afford to pay their athletes. So onside, offside, despite all of its warts, NIL is the best system for athletes in college to get paid.
Yeah, they have to find a way to control it, but it's the best way because it's what was the old way, except just in a newer way with the legal way to it, where you just have boosters that used to give bags of cash to guys that they were trying to have sign with their university. Now that's basically what's happening as well, but there's a collective. I just think schools should be able to have a little bit more of a hands-on approach to try to help these guys, which I'm sure they all do behind the scenes, and there is even some rules that are getting broken, but now it's just legalized. They need to fine-tune it, but it's still the best way, even with all the warts that it has. So I will go onsides.
Now, the last one, the Clippers unveiled new uniforms and a brand new logo. And to the surprise of many, the look is actually pretty fresh, garnering positive reviews across the board. Their new stadium is going to be finished built probably this year and ready to go for next year, or at the very least in 2 years.
Yeah.
So onside, offside, with Ballmer and all of his money, the Clippers can someday overtake the Lakers as Los Angeles' team.
I know they're having a good year. They're 37-19, but whenever it's with the Clippers, I always feel like it's, oh, we're going to be this. We're going to be that. We're going to do this in the future. And it will still never be enough to overtake the Lakers. The Clippers will always be a pimple on the Lakers' ass. All right? That's what they're going to be.
Like your Mets and my Yankees. I get it.
That's fine. I'm realistic. I know the Yankees are still the team of New York, but let's not pretend like the Yankees have been this great franchise as of late with one world championship since 2009, all right?
More than the Mets.
That's true. I'm realistic here. I'm not a stupid sports fan like you that won't be realistic, all right?
Go Chiefs.
But come on, no. The Clippers usurping the Lakers? What a joke.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. We're about to have a conversation about storming a court or storming a field, and this all comes in the aftermath of Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons taking down the Duke Blue Devils the other day, and the Wake Forest fans who were in a state of euphoria after the big win, like most teams do. When there is a big win and an upset, they storm the court. Well, you recall a few weeks ago when Ohio State beat Iowa, Caitlin Clark got bumped into, and that was a big story. And now Kyle Filipowski of the Duke team, I guess he suffered some knee injury here. We don't know the extent of the injury, but I've seen the video where he was bumped into by fans, and now you have a situation where a lot of people inside the college athletics world are speaking out, and they're saying that we have to do something here and we have to stop court storming. Now, it would be very hypocritical of me. Let me just say this full disclosure. If I got on the radio today and said, you can't storm the court, you can't storm the field, where if you may or may not recall, all the way back to Thanksgiving weekend of last year, I was one of the fans in attendance for Michigan, Ohio State. And when Michigan beats Ohio State, they storm the field. So when the game ended, I was sitting 11, 12 rows off the field. We made our way through the chaos to get onto the field. Now, when I was on the field and I was making my way to the field, and I was a little bit intoxicated, let's just say, but I was also smart. Like, there was a video of me that I got clowned a little bit and trolled a little bit. Oh, you look like your legs are so weak, blah, blah, blah. My legs aren't weak. I was just drinking, and I was slowly making my way down to the field, and I was told this from a friend of mine. If you listen to the DA show, the Bayou Bear, he reached out to me, and he said, be careful when you storm the field, because when you jump from the seats down to the turf or the grass, usually your legs give out. So that was in the back of my mind. And you know when you get told something sober and then you're drunk? And for whatever the reason is, what you were told when you were sober, there's sometimes things that just stick with you when you're drunk and you put an overemphasis on it. That was me when I was making my way down the 11 or 12 rows. And I thought it was going to be this big like drop off from the stands to the field. And I was just fearing, sports radio host tears his Achilles or tears his ACL or breaks a leg when storming the field. So I was thinking about that. And then when I jumped, and sometimes I forget how tall I am, but when I jumped from the stands to the field, I was going very slowly. When it happened, I was like, that's what I was concerned about? Because the jump was maybe about like this big. It wasn't that big, the actual jump, but you hear all these stories of people getting hurt when they storm the field. So I'm not going to sit here today and be a hypocrite. There may be other days where I'll be a hypocrite, but today's not one of them where I sit here and say, we can't storm the field, we can't storm the court. But I do think there's a conversation to be had. You have to give a little time for the athlete to at least get off the field. And it's probably easier in basketball to get off the court than it is in football, because in basketball, you have what? Like 12 to 20 guys on a team that just need to get off the bench and go to the locker room. For football, you have rosters north of 100 people, and I get it, most guys are on the sideline anyway, but it's a lot more bodies that are moving. And the problem with basketball is you're in a smaller stadium. Like, not all 100,000 people, whatever the big house sits, were able to get on the field. But it was like a slow process of a lot of people that got on the field. I never thought any of the Ohio State players were in any danger. Like Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator now of the Chargers, he was able to run from the Michigan sideline to the Ohio State sideline, and he waved goodbye to the Ohio State people. Now, I don't think any players were ever in harm, but I do acknowledge that there's a lot of stupid people that are chasing like internet fame and internet fandom and internet clout that will do stupid things and maybe run into a football player or a basketball player trying to get a video, knowing that, it's just they could get caught up in the rush of everyone trying to get on the field or to get on the court. So I never want to see any injuries. What happened to Caitlin Clark stinks. What happened to Kyle Filipowski stinks as well. But I also don't enjoy when you have something like this that is controversial, where people try to lecture to you and people try to like talk down to you and people try to make it as if they have the answer to everything. Like sometimes in society, something happens that's wrong. And just because it's wrong, it doesn't mean that we always need to have this like new idea and we need to change things immediately. And I get it. We live in like a debate society. There's tons of things, obviously, naturally through this platform that I debate. But you would make it like out to be with some of the intense reactions from people on social media or people on studio shows that like Kyle Filipowski had like his leg chopped off or something like that. Don't get it twisted. It stinks. It's unfortunate what happened. I just think we need to fine-tune court storming and storming the field. And I'll go back to the experience that we had in Ann Arbor. They encouraged it. But when you encourage it and when you have people that are on board with it, there's a way to kind of organize the chaos. Like there was a little bit of a buffer, not long, but a little bit of a buffer from when you were allowed to storm the field at Michigan and Ohio State. And then once you got on the field, it didn't last that long. And eventually the big PA announcer came on and said, "We appreciate you storming the field. Now it's time to find your nearest exit." And I thought it was, even in my state where I had a few drinks, I actually thought it was very organized. Now, the problem is, since this is a tradition, and right, people have it just engraved in their brain, you have an upset, you storm the court. It's that immediate rush that is difficult to control because you could have a security guard standing there at the sideline. Is that actually going to prevent like 15,000 people, if they wanted to, from storming the court? No. So I think that there is a time and place to storm the court, storm the field. I'm not anti-storming the field, storming the court, but there at least has to be a minute 2-minute buffer, max, where you could safely get the players on the opposing team or the team that lost off the field. Because the team that wins, you want to be a part of the storming the field, storming the court process because you have all these people running up to you and celebrating. But let me defend Kyle Filipowski here for a second. It's weird that I have to defend him because this is a big pet peeve of mine. And as much as I love social media and I love the internet, I also think it has at times ruined sports. Where now when something happens, we zoom in and we slow down everything. And when that happens, you could have mixed interpretations of what actually occurred when you're looking at it at live speed and full speed to compare it to something being slowed down. And anyone attacking this kid today, he was trying to embrace contact. He was trying to fight the Wake Forest fans. Like, what are you talking about? I can't believe how many people actually listen and are taken seriously that say that. When you have that many people running at you, like, for example, if there was like 15 Zach Gelbs, let's just say, running at Michael Samter, the immediate reaction out of anybody would be to put their hands up and protect themselves. And you had that many people in that storm of people running at him, he was just putting his hands up to kind of, and it's a big guy too, to kind of like box out so he could try to get through all the people and make his way into the locker room. So I'm not against storming the court, storming the field. I've done it before. It's fun. It's an awesome moment. It's a great tradition in college basketball, in college football. But you got to give the losing team a little bit of time. And it doesn't take long, especially basketball. All you need, max, is a minute. And then have the schools embrace it. A lot of times the schools don't embrace it because they end up having to pay a fine, which is one of those things that they pretend like they're unhappy with paying the fine, but they're fine with it because they ended up winning. So, Samter, where do you stand on this when it comes to storming a court, storming a field after a big win for a college program and a big upset?
The fact that they were even having this conversation is asinine to me.
Why?
The fact that there's even a conversation that it's okay to storm the field is so ridiculous to me that I can't fathom.
One of the over-the-top reactions that I was talking about.
No, but like I've had the same reaction for the past 8 or 9 years, and it just keeps happening, and nothing changes. And not only does nothing change, people continue to defend it. Someone is going to get seriously hurt. I have videos on my screen right now. Texas Tech players punched a Texas player when they stormed the field.
That's stupid.
I have an Old Dominion fan getting knocked on his ass against Virginia Tech. I've got an LSU player elbowing and punching.
Oh, the Old Dominion Virginia Tech game, by the way, was a great upset.
Yeah. I have an LSU player punching and pushing an Ole Miss fan for storming the court or the field. This was on football. All right. We've seen what's happened in basketball. Guys are going to get hurt. And it's one thing if the players are getting hurt, which would be ridiculous, but a fan is going to get hurt, right? Because you talked about 1,000 of yous running at me. No. Imagine 1,000 of me's running at you.
Okay.
These are smaller non-athletes. These are students. These are freshmen and sophomores. These are student section kids running at full padded, gigantic 300-pound athletes on the football field. And in basketball, 7'1" players, right? Someone's going to get hurt. A student is going to get severely hurt. A player is going to get hurt. The liability is too strong to let it continue happening. Now, you talk about, okay, well, maybe let's have a little bit of a buffer. Fine. If there's a buffer, like a 5-minute buffer.
I think that's too long.
Then suck it up and deal. Then don't storm the field. The players, the coaches, the staffs need to be able to get off the court without any concern. Players are going to continue getting hurt. Now, here's the other part also.
Wait, hold on. When you just say suck it up and deal with it.
Yeah, suck it up and deal.
When you said that, I just envision your daughter is just a little over a year old.
Yes.
I could only envision when your daughter's like 11 or 12, the parenting of Michael Samter. You got a problem with the rules at school? Just suck it up and deal with it. That's how I kind of envisioned you. You sound like a parent right there. But okay, anyway, continue to make your point.
I mean, I don't know if I'll be talking to my daughter like that. I'll be a little bit more kid gloves with her.
So you're the softie. Is your wife the bad cop and you're the good cop?
No,
is that what you're telling me?
No. I mean, we're both capable of both. But man, my daughter's she's so cute. Like, she looks at me with her eyes.
Of course.
I'm the disciplinarian, but I'm also a softie. So it's like I'm battling both, right?
That's the thing.
I have that parent inside of me, and I have that, like, you're too damn cute. How could I stay mad at you?
I don't want to call you a tough guy because then your ego will just get crazy. It'll be bigger than the Atlantic Ocean. But Samter is someone, in a weird way, that has somewhat of an intimidating presence. But when you get down to the root of Michael Samter, he is a giant softy. And that's why I think your wife would be more of the bad cop and you would be more of the good cop here. Because your daughter looks at you with those eyes, too. You're just screwed. You'll melt like a soft serve ice cream sitting out in the sun on a 95-degree day.
I know. I'm going to present tough, but deep down inside, I'm just going to be melting. So to continue on with my anger
Yes,
and my
your
rant,
diatribe. Continue.
let's say this happened once every couple years because Old Dominion beat number 2 in the country or some Appalachian State beat Michigan.
Yeah.
When a team like Ole Miss beats like 9th ranked LSU, you storm the field, right?
Yeah, there needs to be certain standards
when
for it.
Duke gets beat, like, we're not talking about like all-time epic upsets. We're talking about literally any time a team that's not ranked beats a ranked team, they're storming the court. It's gotten too much, right? So again, if this happened once every couple years when we had a historic level update and you stormed the court, fine. Maybe I can I would still want there to be some level of regulation and rules.
Okay.
But I at least understand it. It's happening like 15 times a year in every sport.
I don't know. Is it really happening in that great
We've
a
already
frequency?
talked about it 3 or 4 times this year in college basketball alone.
I remember the Caitlin Clark one. Obviously, the Filipowski thing is right in the news. I remember someone running up and getting in the face of Caleb Williams when Notre Dame beat USC.
Yep. I mean, there has been multiple situations. And I'm telling you, someone is going to get hurt. Now, here's the last part of it.
Well, someone did get hurt. Filipowski.
Yeah,
I don't know the extent of his injury.
Someone's going to
you
get
know what's
seriously
fascinating
hurt.
to me? You care more. It seems like you care more about the fans than the players.
No, I think both. I think both are a part. Listen, the players definitely need to be protected, but
because I think the bigger issue is the protection of the players, not the protection of the fans.
Well, so here's the
NCAA doesn't give a crap about the fans.
They do in the sense of like legal liability, right? Like if a fan gets hurt storming the court or the field, and the league or the sport is doing nothing about it, the NCAA is doing nothing about it, they're going to be on the hook. That kid's family is going to sue the school.
There's
got
to be some protection, though. Now with all these electronic tickets, you probably sign your life away by accepting the ticket, I would imagine.
You know what? If a burglar gets injured in your home because you have something that's against the code, they can sue you because they got in to try to break into your home. So you know what? There would be some loophole that the fan could sue. The other part of it is this. With NILs and all these other things, these athletes are getting paid now.
Okay.
They're not amateur student athletes anymore. These are paid professionals for the most part at this point. They don't really storm the field in the NFL. They don't storm the field in the NBA. And if anyone tried to get on the field or the court, they would get tackled in a heartbite.
But you don't have you don't have atmospheres at those professional games like you do with the loyal, crazy college.
But if fans try to, Eagles fans, crazy wild Eagles fans, try to storm the court.
Yes,
like not
you get
just one
arrested.
guy. I'm talking about 30, 50, 100 people. They would all get arrested.
Yes.
At the end of the day, now that these players are going to get paid and they're professionals, they're no longer amateurs. These are professionals.
Okay.
All right? They have liability. They have money. They have futures. That is not just like, oh, we're like fun students having fun here. There is something more going on. The unions, the players, their agents, they're going to put a stop to this because these guys have value, financial value that are being put on their bodies at this moment. Not future potential draft pick money, actual real money now. This is going to go away, and it's not going to go away from the NCAA. It's going to go away by the players and their representatives.
Yeah, but it's all the wild, wild west. So you're not going to get everyone to get on the same page. And there's no format right now for everyone to get on the same page.
It's going to take one giant agency that represents a bunch of players to take this to court.
Won't be enough.
And it's going to happen.
Alrighty. Anyway, my brain just goes in many different directions sometimes when you could say something that you didn't even mean to be a talking point, but this is where we are right now. So I brought up a point, imagine 20 of me running at Samter. And then Samter says, no. Imagine 20 of me running at you. So I was once at a Super Bowl, and it was opening night, and someone asked Tom Brady, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? What's your answer to that, by the way, Samter? One horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? What would you rather fight?
I'll take the horse-sized duck. The one horse-sized duck. Because, I think horses in general are more dangerous. So 100 small horses, I think, would be more dangerous. Because, a duck, what's the duck going to do? It can't use anything with its wings for the most part.
But it's the size of a horse.
Yeah, but I can just jump on it. and like ride it like a horse.
See, I think
and then like its beak, it's not like its beak is going to hurt. It doesn't have teeth. It's just a beak.
So you're probably right, but whenever I get asked this question, this is how I envision it. Remember that game Dance Dance Revolution? Were you young enough for that?
I know the game. I suck mightily at it. So
yeah, well, everyone does. But like you would be standing in one of those arcades or wherever it was, and you're basically just stomping at like 1,000 miles per hour just to try to get as many arrows or whatever it was on the screen. I feel like Dance Dance Revolution, that's what it would turn into with the 100 duck-sized horses. You would just be like stomping on those on those ducks over and over again, or the horses over and over again.
I will say this.
Peter, by the way, I'm not endorsing that, so don't come after me. I'm just making sure.
Zach Gelb, horse stomper.
No, I love horses.
All right, cool. As a lover of dogs, I've been in a situation where I've been surrounded by a bunch of little puppies jumping all over. 100 horses, eventually, like you can stomp on a couple at a time. I got 2 feet. I can only stomp on a couple horses at a time.
But it would be like Dance Dance Revolution. That's what I'm saying.
It would be to a point. At a certain
I think it'd be more fun. Put it that way.
It would be more fun to stomp on horses rather than to take down a big duck. Good to know. All right, Zach. Interesting. All right, good to know.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Talking about people that do stupid things. We'll get into the people that basically jumped Cam Newton at the 7-on-7 camp. Also, we're going to get into more fighting when we return. Man, this has turned into a malicious show here on this Monday. We're coming on back at 5.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio. Here's Zach Gelb.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. So it seems like whenever Cam Newton does one of these like 7-on-7 events or anything for trying to give back to the game and help people out with their future and put them on a bigger platform, that always something goes wrong here. You remember a few years ago, like there was some Q&A and some guy called him like trash or something and was talking about, you know, how his money's going to run out because now he's no longer in the NFL, something stupid like that. Now, I don't know who's in the right or the wrong here because you hear different sides of this story. Like I saw some video that one of the guys that was in the fight, he was talking smack about Cam and basically said Cam can't throw the football, even though Cam won an MVP in this league. I'm like, who the heck is this guy that got into the fight to say that about Cam? So who the heck knows? But it's an incredibly bad look either way for Cam and then also the people that fought Cam. Because if you started the fight and you were at something that Cam was trying to do, well, then you're just, I guarantee you're just trying to go viral. And that's just stupid to start a fight with Cam because you notice in that fight, Cam is enormous. Like we saw Cam at the Super Bowl. You know how I said earlier where you sometimes see someone and they're like huge on the field and you see them without pads on, you're like, oh, I thought that guy would be bigger. That was Brock Bowers at the Super Bowl. Cam looks even bigger in person than he does on TV. Like, Samter, I don't know about you. When you saw Cam, who was broadcasted right behind us at Radio Row, it looked like this dude has got even more jacked since playing in the NFL. He was enormous. He was an absolute Hulk of a human being at Radio Row. So you could try to fight Cam in all likelihood. And I know there's tons of times where you're a big guy and you end up losing a fight, especially when there's three people. But look at the three people that tried to fight Cam. Not only did Cam hold his own, it looked like he won the fight. And also, I don't know how the heck the hat that Cam was wearing didn't fall off with how much hair Cam has. Like, that was my biggest takeaway from the entire thing. It was, wow, this is stupid that there's a fight at the 7-on-7 thing. But how the heck did Cam's hat not fall off the top of his head? It was amazing. It really was.
I mean, I don't know if he has it like tied on or something, or if he was just beating them
like
down so badly and so undisturbed by them coming at him that he just like never actually tilted his head enough for the hat to fall off.
Yeah, I would never want to fight Cam. But we talked about it earlier with the ducks and the horses. One of Cam is impossible, I think, to fight. And he has an incredible amount of strength. So what was the latest that just came out here, Samter, during the break? I saw you sent to me on Larry Brown Sports about this. Cam was in the wrong here, they're saying
Yeah,
now?
so apparently this is a statement from the Top Shelf Performance, which was the facility and the group that was holding this event. They said that Cam allegedly was, quote, taunting the players repeatedly, prompting one of the coaches to have a word with him. Newton allegedly tried to choke the coach, prompting another coach to intervene and punch Newton, escalating the situation. Police supposedly told Top Shelf coaches that they witnessed the entire altercation and were aware that Cam started it. Now, again, this is the statement from the people who were fighting with Cam, so that's one side of it.
Yeah.
So we don't know for sure if this is the real side of it, but this is the statement being released by those who are getting their butts whipped by Cam.
I got to think something was said stupid to Cam first, right? Because even though Cam shouldn't have this reaction, when I first saw this video, I just thought back to the video a few years ago where someone said something stupid and then it elicits a reaction that Cam should probably just walk away, but he's incapable of doing so. But from this report, and this is once again from the people that were in the fight, that were fighting Cam, they're saying that he instigated it first. And what? You said Cam tried to choke one of the coaches at one point?
Yes, apparently it started because after the coach was getting in Cam's face, it sounds like, about Cam
why is
taunting.
the coach getting in Cam's face? Oh, because he was
taunting.
Cam
was taunting players. The coach got in his face, and then Cam, choked the coach.
Yeah.
That's what the guys are saying who were part of the fight, not Cam's side of it.
Either way, what happened can't happen. So let's say Cam was instigating at first, and he was trying to, encourage an environment where there was a lot of smack talk to get the most competition out there. Okay. But it can't get to the point where you're starting a fight. Now, I'm taking this with a big grain of salt because I think there's two sides to the story. And I also just in my gut feel like the three people that you saw in the video probably weren't innocent here. They probably had part of a reason why the fight did actually happen. They had to have done something beforehand. That would just be what I would say from afar, but who knows? Anyway, I want to have a fun conversation here because you're watching this video and it's like, okay, if I need to get into a fight, Cam's definitely someone that I'm picking on my team. But out of active players right now, and I did this out of the 4 major sports, these are the 4 guys that I would most want to start a fight with. I'm not saying me try to fight them, but if I ever was in a fight, I would call on these 4 guys first. In the NFL, my answer a few years ago would have been Ndamukong Suh, but he's not active right now. Like he tried to get on a team this year and it didn't work out. So right now it would be Aaron Donald. Like whenever we do that topic around Halloween, athletes that could dress up as superheroes or things like that, or they could dress up as something for Halloween, Aaron Donald's always like the Hulk. That dude is the real life Hulk. So I would take Aaron Donald in the NFL. The NBA, it would be Nikola Jokic. And I think some people will be like, oh, why Nikola Jokic? Because his brothers are always following him. And it's more so because he has his 2 brothers always following him. And those 2 brothers could beat the snot out of maybe anyone on this planet. Major League Baseball. This one was the toughest one because there's a lot of out-of-shape Major League Baseball players. But I would go with Yordan Alvarez. That dude just looks like a Hulk of a human being. And then the NHL, it would be Ryan Lindgren. Ryan Lindgren suffers more injuries than anybody. And he plays for the Rangers. Like, his eye would be swollen shut, and he doesn't even miss a game. This dude's an absolute warrior. So, years ago in the NBA, I would say Udonis Haslem. Years ago in the NFL, I would say Ndamukong Suh. But right now, to the active athletes, NHL, I'm picking Ryan Lindgren if I had to get into a fight. And looks are deceiving because he's smaller, but he could beat the crap out of anybody. Nikola Jokic in the NBA, Major League Baseball, Yordan Alvarez, and in the NFL, Aaron Donald. Samter, anyone else you want to throw into this list? Anyone that you're going to be saying, oh, I would pick to assist if you ever got into a fight?
I know Micah Parsons wouldn't agree with this, but TJ Watt seems like one of those guys who, he's tough, he's fast. He just seems like he's crazy, that he would just absolutely just demolish people. In the
I
NBA,
think Joey Bosa, by the way.
Yeah, Bosa, too. Like, those guys just look like they're badasses.
Like, Joey Bosa, I think, is a guy.
Max Crosby, I think could.
Max Crosby, absolutely. But I think Joey Bosa is someone that could take like 100 punches to the face and then be like, okay, when are you going to actually start the fight? Like, he just has I feel like that dude, even though he gets hurt a lot, I think he could put up with like a ton of pain in a fight before he would actually get broken. Anyone else you got?
Yeah, and then in the MLB, I mean, just from size, Aaron Judge. I mean, the guy's like 6'7" and a monster.
Is he tough,
him or
though?
Giancarlo Stanton?
I don't know. Those guys tough. That they're built like they are. What was what was it? What did Saquon Barkley once post nude on, and they were just basically showing. It was like some. Was it was Sports Illustrated the body issue?
Maybe.
Yeah, the body issue.
Yeah.
Like Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are guys that could be on the body issue.
Yeah.
I don't know if necessarily I'm picking either one of them.
I mean, if you're looking
in a
at
fight,
6'7", 300 pounds of pure ripped muscle, I mean, tough or not, he's going to beat some ass.
Yeah, you would probably think so. That could probably be a new drop for the show as well. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Updates and some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. When we return, we call that segment the News Brief. KJ Wright's going to stop by. Coming up at the top of the hour as well. But first up, here is Richard Ackerman, the Ackman, with the latest CBS Sports Radio update.
CBS Sports Radio.
Sports Flash.
Oh, Andy Reid has more championships now than any active coach and is about to be paid for it as the 65-year-old, and the Chiefs are reportedly in talks to make him the NFL's highest-paid coach. The Bengals have a talented trio of wide receivers, and they're intent on keeping them, reportedly going to use the franchise tag on T. Higgins, who would earn close to $22 million next year. The Sacramento Kings are looking to get into the mix for the home court advantage in the playoffs. They're currently 5th in the West and go for their 4th straight tonight against the Heat. De'Aaron Fox led the way in last night's win with 33 over the Clippers, which he said will go along the way.
I mean, it's big. You don't want to go down 3-0 against any team in this league. And obviously this is a division team, so we'll see them one more time. And with the way that the standings are, you never know what can happen at the end of the year, and tiebreakers matter. So if we went down 3-0, there's no way we'd have even an increment of hope at a tiebreaker.
WNBA MVP Breanna Stewart reportedly returning to the Liberty on a one-year deal. Houston reclaims the top spot in the AP poll for the 3rd time this year, and Kike Hernandez is returning to the Dodgers. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, this is JR. Let's hang out weeknights here on CBS Sports Radio for my show, the JR Sport Brief, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio. Here's Zach Gelb.
All righty, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. This was very fitting. We were just talking about athletes that you would want to draft if you were ever getting into a fight. I'll give credit to Michael Fry in the YouTube chat. Even though he's a Ohio State fan, he can't give us a good idea here or there. He said Myles Garrett. But once we finished that segment, and I tossed it over to Ack for the latest CBS Sports Radio update, I went to go exit our studio. Now, we have a thick studio door, and the handle is like a very shiny metal handle that's bolted into the door, and there's a top part and a bottom part. So I went to go open the door, right? Put my hand right on the middle of the handle, and the handle fell off, which I thought that was absolutely hysterical. Samter has no clue what's going on. He's finding out about this for the first time. Stu knows because I told Stu during the break. I even informed management, and our boss said, holy bleep, when I sent him the photo of that. Samter right now is looking at the handle right now, and he is amazed. He just put two hands up in the air and said, what the heck? So maybe I'm getting too strong here for the CBS Sports Radio studio, and they need to build me a stronger, more durable studio, because it was not like I was yanking at the door handle in an aggressive fashion. I opened up the door handle as I do each and every day, and the thing just popped right off the door. So what are your analysis on that, Samter?
I will say it'll be really fun if that door handle came off and you're stuck in there for the rest of the night. You have to sleep on the floor and kind of, take a nap on the table.
So let me clarify that. It's the top part of the door handle that fell off. So if I go to try to open the door again and the bottom part of the door handle does come off, since that door is like slammed shut and it's a very heavy door, there would be no way for me to get out, because even in the top door handle, like, you think there would be a hole that you could, this won't sound right, just stick your finger in and then just like open the door. But it's not. It's like a little small like bolt where the handle does go in. So there is a chance that I get stuck here, and I may have to wait. Let's say at the bottom part of the door handle does fall off. Well, JR is not here live 6 to 10. He's in Atlanta. Bart's in Milwaukee. So I would have to wait for Amy Lawrence to save the day. And she would have to kick down the door and allow me to get out of here. I would hope that Stu would open up the door for me. I know you wouldn't.
No way.
But I would hope that Stu would at least help me.
No, it'd be like a new reality show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or like Big Brother.
Or maybe Botcher. I know Botcher's training on the show today, so maybe Botcher could help me out.
I'm going to instruct him not to intercede.
No, it's okay.
Do not get involved.
He may be learning to try to do what you and Stu do, but he'll still take directions and orders from yours truly. By the way,
you'll be on camera for like 10 hours stuck in a room. It would be absolute gold. It would be so fun to watch. I would just tune in and watch it all night.
Yeah. By the way, this camera's really zoomed in on me today in the middle. I don't know. I feel like I am zoomed in to the fullest today.
No, I think it's only because we have the split screen right now. But normally when we go to the solo shot of you look better.
I feel like I need to just crouch down a little bit. I don't know. It's now getting into me, because when I sit up straight, like half my head's getting chopped off here. You see this right now? Half my head's getting chopped off.
It's a little weird.
I mean, listen, I'll be honest. The more of your head that gets chopped off, the better it is for our viewers. So I'm down for that.
Okay. There we go. A good Samter shot there. Ba-dum-bum. He has about one a month. Glad you hit your quota finally for this month. All right, let's update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We'll get to a news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
So I think our boss, who is our boss until we get a new boss, I guess is the best way to say it, Spike Eskin, started this whole situation. So Spike, even though he's our program director right now, he's staying in the company, but he's going down the turnpike to take over Afternoon Drive in Philadelphia. But Spike can't start that job until they find us a new program director. So Spike has kind of been parachuting in to the office in Philadelphia. When he's there, he's been like jumping on the air. He's been co-hosting. And I guess he said something about his father, ironically. Spike's that I'm talking about, which got misconstrued, I guess, to A.J. Brown thinking that Spike took a shot at A.J. Brown. That's what I was kind of reading from afar when I was at this bachelor party in Orlando this past weekend. So A.J. Brown on Friday, he called in to Sports Radio 94 WIP to, I believe, their afternoon show, but Spike wasn't on it because Spike is just parachuting in until we find a replacement for Spike around here. And A.J. Brown did like a 20-minute interview with, I believe, Ike Reese and Jack Fritz. Here is A.J. Brown on, is his relationship with Hurts at all fractured?
I think that's total BS. I'm not going to get into me and his relationship on the air, but it's total BS. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a problem when I was on my six game streak. They wasn't talking about that then. So they only started talking about that when we started losing.
So I watch a ton of Eagles games. And A.J. Brown, I remember when he got traded from Tennessee to Philadelphia, everyone talked about the genuine friendship that is there initially and that has been there for years with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. But this year, and even going back to last year in the playoff game, up against the Giants in the divisional round, A.J. Brown hasn't always looked happy. Now, you could not look happy and actually be happy, and I get it. We play, and football is played in a very intense environment, and sometimes what you could get away with on the sideline wouldn't happen in a normal workplace, and it's actually encouraged. But there are often times where you look at A.J. Brown, and he just doesn't look happy. And I think it's fair to question that and just ask, is A.J. Brown happy? And down the stretch, I'm not saying anyone should be thrilled when they were 10-1 and they only won one game the rest of the season. At least from afar, it appeared that A.J. Brown was annoyed and he wasn't thrilled with Jalen Hurts because he wasn't getting the ball in the end zone and he wasn't getting enough targets. So that's been there even when the Eagles have been winning, and now it's there when the Eagles are losing. But it always just didn't add up to me from where their previous relationship was, how this quickly it could potentially sour. But then yet again, A.J. Brown, just from looks, doesn't always look happy in Philadelphia, especially with the way things have been going with the Eagles. Here's A.J. Brown. Does he want to stay with the Eagles?
I have no problem. I want to be here. It's as simple as that. I love where I'm at. As simple as that. Yeah, the locker room is fine. After the season, whatever. I just said players wasn't executing, like I said in the interview. That's what it came down to. I think the media kind of ran with the coaches. It's the coaches' fault. The coaches didn't prepare us and this and that. I never blame the coaches. I'm not the person to blame the coach. I'm not trying to blame anyone. You know, I'm the guy who's going to look in the mirror and going to challenge everybody else. Like, it was the players not executing, and that's what happened.
So that's fine for a player to say that the players weren't executing, but you can't blame the media for that. Like, the organization did get rid of the offensive coordinator. The organization did make changes in season to defensive coordinator, and then at the end of the season, there were even more changes. You have a new defensive coordinator, a new offensive coordinator. So that wasn't the media's fault. Here is A.J. Brown on how the media portrays him.
I just truly just feel like I'm just misunderstood as a player, as a person. It gets frustrating because anything I say, anything I do, it gets magnified times 10. I'm classified as a diva. I want the ball and this and that, blah, blah, blah. When honestly, it's the other way around. You see me getting upset on the sideline, and you automatically think it's about targets. No. What if I'm holding my players accountable? Mm-hmm. What if I'm the guy that pushes everybody in the locker room, make people uncomfortable to try to better themselves for the team? What if I'm that guy?
That's an interesting way to spin it, because he wasn't happy with his targets. So he just says he's holding other people accountable, and maybe the Eagles do need that. But there have been times, once again, where he hasn't got the targets and the Eagles have been winning, and there's still an issue on the sidelines. Here's what I'll say to A.J. Brown. I'm sure he does get misportrayed a little bit. That's probably just natural, but it can't become an issue this year. You can't be seen on the sideline upset in a win, let's say, when the targets aren't going your way. You're losing? Okay, that happens. But there have been moments where he's been upset in wins, and that just can't happen. Because he basically just said it's all about winning or losing, and he's just trying to hold everyone accountable. You guys find a way to bounce back and win, you can't be unhappy. But if you lose, then I bet you this situation is going to get even more toxic. Here is Russell Wilson. He sat down on the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall, and Russell Wilson was asked if he still wants to keep on playing. Listen up.
I got more fire than ever, honestly, especially over the past 2 years of what I've gone through. Whether it's in Denver or somewhere else, I hope it's in Denver. You know, I hope I get to finish there. I committed there. I wanted to be there. You know, I want to be there. For me, it's about winning. Over the next 5 years, I want to win too. I want to feel the chill of that trophy again. You know, I love the city and everything else, but you know, you also want to be a place that wants you too. So the thing that I want to do is win. Man. That's all I care about.
Everyone wants to win. Sometimes you hear someone say they want to win, and you just wonder how legit that is. And for Russell Wilson, I used to think he was about winning, but then when he got to Denver, I think he cared more, and towards the end in Seattle, he cared more about the brand of Russell Wilson than the actual play of Russell Wilson. And what started this entire end in Seattle was when he was at the Super Bowl, when it was the COVID Super Bowl where the Bucs won, and he was like, I'm sick and tired of going to the Super Bowl and not participating in the Super Bowl. I want to go win multiple Super Bowls and be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Okay, you could say that, but were your priorities all in the right place to put you in a spot to eventually achieve that? And I don't think so. Now, don't get me wrong. He got the short end of the stick this year. Sean Payton was more in the wrong this year than Russell Wilson. But every time I hear Russell Wilson now open his mouth, I just don't believe anything he's saying now. And here's the other thing. A lot of people are taking this to say that, and maybe this is true, that he wants to win 2 Super Bowls in 5 years. When I hear him say, I want to win 2, I think he's talking about himself again. Like, he's already won 1, so he wants to win the 2nd Super Bowl, because he then said, I want to have that feeling again. So I don't know if that was necessarily him meaning 2 in 5 years, or is more so he just wants to win the 2nd one. Here is Russell Wilson on being benched. This is on the I Am Athlete podcast, once again with Brandon Marshall.
I didn't believe it at first. I was like, this can't be real. And I got that call that, hey, we're going to bench you for the next 9 games if you don't change your injury guarantee. So for me...
But be clear here, they don't want to bench you because of play. They're saying they're benching you because they want you to take out the injury guarantee.
Yeah, they want to push back my injury guarantee and remove it for that the rest of the year, so that way if I get injured, that they don't have to pay it. I didn't want to set a precedent for players to remove their injury guarantees too as well, and so it was no way I was going to do that. And so when they said that we're going to bench you, I said, all right, that's what you want to do.
Bro, that's like extortion.
It would have been stupid for him to listen and actually do what the Broncos were asking him to do. Now you can spin it as he was being the good guy. You didn't want to set a precedent for the rest of the players. That's a bunch of nonsense. See, it feels illegal what the Broncos did, but here's why it's not. They could ask you to do something and they could, let's say, threaten you. But at the end of the day, if you say no, they're still going to pay you and they have to pay you. They don't have to play you. Now, don't get it twisted. I think what the Broncos did was ill-advised. I think it was dirty. And I don't think it should have happened, and I don't like it, and I don't think Sean Payton ever really wanted to make it work with Russell Wilson by how quickly he gave up on him and why did he take the Broncos' job. But ultimately, even though it feels wrong and it feels illegal, it probably isn't, because at the end of the day, they just have to pay you. They don't have to play you, but it feels wrong to threaten, oh, you don't do this with your contract, then we're going to bench you. So that's where we're at with Russell Wilson, and hey, I know he could say he wants to stay in Denver, and Sean Payton could say, oh, there's still a chance he comes back. There's a 0.0% chance. There's actually a negative % chance that Russell Wilson is on the Broncos next season. He's not getting traded. He's ultimately getting released. No one's going to trade for that contract. He'll get released, and then you would think he's going to sign a deal on the cheap and try to salvage the rest of his career, which went from being a Hall of Fame career to now uncertainty if he'll end up making the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Coming on back with KJ Wright, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling now with number 3 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. We'll head out to the guest line right now. Welcome in a Super Bowl champion. He's a Pro Bowl linebacker, played most of his career with the Seattle Seahawks, then had it end up with the Las Vegas Raiders. That, of course, is KJ Wright from the KJ Wright all-day show, who's kind enough to join us right now on CBS Sports Radio. I see you jamming out KJ Tower rejoin music.
Sure.
What's going on?
Doing well, Zach, man. Back in my hometown of Olive Branch, Mississippi. Always a pleasure to hop on the show, man. Appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. So where are things at right now with the former great Seahawks defensive players and Russell Wilson? Because I saw that you guys had that event for Coach Carroll when he basically got fired as the head coach of the team, even though they're moving his position, however they want to word it. And it seemed like getting everyone in the same room has created a little momentum of restoring this friendship. Is that fair to say?
Let's just say time heals all wounds. Let's just say that. It was so unfortunate during our time in Seattle that we compared. Who's the best? Is it the defense that's doing it? Is it Marshawn? Is it Russell Wilson? Like, who gets the credit? And I truly believe that just got in our way of having the dynasty that we had. A lot of egos, all those alpha personalities. But you saw when Russell Wilson spoke on Brandon Marshall's podcast, he saw Sherm smile at him. They was out there talking, hugging, and kissing. And so it's really cool to see as we progress throughout our careers, as we progress into adulthood. Let's just let bygones be bygones. We did some great stuff in Seattle, and it's definitely going to be legendary and unforgettable. And so I like where we're at.
The decision to not hand the football to Marshawn Lynch is what ruined you guys as a team. And we've been through this before. You could never fracture what happened after that. But do you at all ever regret like how if you didn't let ego get in the way, you guys were such a special team and such a good team, what it could have continued to have been?
I'm telling you, we should have 3 Super Bowls. We should have 3 to 4 Super Bowls. If you just make the right decision, you just hand the ball off. And when you didn't do that, a lot of fingers got pointed. It's your fault. It's your fault. You should have did this. You should have did that. And when I said last time, we had like a dark gray cloud hovering over us for about 5 to 6 years. And it didn't quite leave until guys started leaving the building. And so hard lesson to learn. If anybody's ever in that position again in their careers, if they're coaching or being a GM, make sure you run the dang football and life will be good.
KJ Wright here with us. What was your impressions? I know you wanted DQ, Dan Quinn, to be the next head coach. That's not the way that it did go down with him winding up with the Commanders. What about Mike McDonald with the Seahawks? Your initial reaction was what?
That's another good option. No, that's a great option that the Seattle Seahawks did. You got a guy that's young, a guy that's really creating a new trend with this dominating multiple defense that he has. And I had a chance to meet him last week. I stopped by the VMAC last week, got a chance to meet him, and I like his energy. I like his swag. I like his energy. I love this culture that he's trying to build. Obviously, what Pete Carroll did for 14 years, that's going to be obviously hard to match. So he wants to build on top of what Coach Carroll has already done. Keep everything vibrant, keep everything fun, but bring in your own style, bring in your own personality. And I'm telling you, Zach, he has this serious demeanor to him, which the Seattle Seahawks need. They need that guy that's going to be disciplined. That guy's going to be straight to the point. That guy's going to hold people accountable. And so I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table. He's built a phenomenal staff on defense, on offense. And so I believe the sky's the limit because when we face the Niners twice a year, when we got the Rams twice a year, they've been kicking our tails for the past 3-4 years. Let's really switch stuff up, get a defensive-minded guy in there that can really slow those offenses down.
Talking to KJ Wright right now on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. The future of Russell Wilson. We all know eventually he'll inevitably get released by the Denver Broncos, and then he could sign on somewhere cheap. What do you think the best option is for a landing spot for Russ for this upcoming season?
He has got to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have got to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is bizarre to me, Zach, what Mike Tomlin has done with, to be respectful, tier 3, tier 4 quarterbacks. Right, it's been phenomenal that you get 10 wins with those quarterbacks, 9 wins. Get you someone that's been to multiple Pro Bowls, been to Super Bowls, has an All-Pro under his belt, and really get this thing going over there in Pittsburgh. This team is perfectly built for him. Najee Harris, you got the running game, you got Jalen Warren, Pickens, dominating defense. Get you a quarterback that can find a way to get you guys over the hump. And so it's unfortunate that his time in Denver went like that 2 years in a row. Just it was a decline. It was a really steep decline that we saw with Russell and with all Sean Payton and Nathaniel Hackett. So get back on track. It'll obviously be a contract-friendly type of deal, and life will be good for Russell Wilson. I'm really excited to see where he ends up.
Yeah, what do you think he can continue to be, though, as a quarterback? Because the last 2 years, I know he played fine this year, but I just don't know if he could be a great quarterback again. Like, is the ceiling for Russ moving forward just potentially being a good quarterback again in the NFL?
Russ can give you 10-plus wins. I'll say that. Russell Wilson can give you 10-plus wins. Russell Wilson can get you in the playoffs. With a Joe Burrow, going to be tough. With a Lamar Jackson winning the division, it's obviously going to be tough. But he can get you in a position to compete. He can have you in a position to be in the playoffs. He can give teams a run for the money when it comes to winning the division. And so I love what he brings to the table. You saw Zach, when he started using his legs, when he started running, do that. Get outside the pocket, bomb that football downfield, and his offensive coordinator has got to find a way to maximize his skill set, maximize Russell Wilson's talent at age 35, I believe. And so I know he can still play some big-time ball. You see that he has this chip on his shoulder. He has a little bit of adversity, and that's good for all ball players. When you get benched, when you get cut, it really channels that inner dog in you to I want to get back on track. I want to prove to the whole world who I can be. And so I think this is good for Russell. This next destination, I think, is going to make a lot of noise.
Yeah, I also think Russ needs to focus more just getting back to football. I think Russ got into the whole brand and, okay, you're an icon and all the off-the-field stuff. I truly don't believe, I said this before you came on, KJ Wright, I don't think playing at his best was number one on the priority list the last few years.
I think that's fair to say. That's fair to say. You see the endorsements. You see, obviously, he married Sierra, who was a superstar in her own right. And so get back to the basics. Eliminate the distractions. Put the colognes away. Put all the stuff away. What's the brand? The Good Man brand. I love all this stuff. Russell Wilson is a businessman. I'm telling you, dial in to the details. Focus up, narrow in. I believe this moment, when teams tell you you're not good enough, when teams tell you we're going to sit you on the bench, that stings. That hurts. And that's why I know he's going to be laser focused, dialed into the details. And I'm telling you, Zach, if anybody can bounce back Russell Wilson's a guy that can do that.
Talking to KJ Wright. Make sure you check out the KJ Wright Show on Seattle's ESPN, 7:10 a.m. Also, make sure you check out KJ All Day with his podcast. How do you think Russ could be, though, in the locker room? Because it did feel like in year one he had a tough time relating to the locker room, and he isolated himself for the locker room. And even though it felt like the relationships with the players were proved in Denver this past year, it wasn't necessarily the case with him and Sean Payton being able to get on the same page.
Listen to me closely. I'm seeing a new Russ. We're seeing a new Russ right before our eyes. He's letting his hair down. He's speaking up. He's defending himself. You saw what he said about Marshawn Lynch when he defended himself with on Brandon Marshall's show? He's like, I don't know what that guy's talking about. He probably had a little too much Hennessy. Perfect. That's genius. Like, go. Defend yourself. Talk your stuff. Talk your mess. That is what I love to see from Russell. And so you're talking about being authentic, being true to himself, saying how you truly feel versus saying what you think sounds right. That's what your guys want. That's what your teammates want to hear. They want someone they can connect with, someone they can relate with. And I believe that I'm seeing in the last, ever since he's gotten benched, ever since he started speaking up for himself, we're really seeing a new Russell Wilson. So I can't wait to see him migrate into a new locker room because they're going to love him.
I also wonder why Sean took the job. I know he got paid a fortune, Sean Payton that is, but why would you leave the Saints when you didn't have a quarterback at the end, and that's why you retired, and then you take a job where you didn't love the quarterback at first? Like how they went about this and how early they tried to change the contract, it just showed that Sean never really wanted to try to make this work or salvage this with Russell Wilson.
No, horrendous leadership from the owner, from the GM, from the head coach. It was just bad. It's just a bad dynamic since day one. You knew what you were getting. You saw him the year before. You saw the contract that he had, right? You saw all of these things. And before you took the job, you should have been like, no, this is not the right situation or the scenario for me. But instead, you chose to go in your press conference and tell your starting quarterback, stop kissing babies.
Yeah.
Stop worrying about your image. You come to a player in the middle of the season, Zach, in the middle of the season saying, adjust your contract or I'm benching you. You handle business before the season start and you handle business after the season. You don't handle that kind of business right in the middle of the season when you're trying to focus on your opponents. And so just horrendous leadership from the top all the way down. And so best of luck to Sean Payton going forward with whoever he chooses to be a starting quarterback.
And you know this, if a team offers you money, even if you don't like necessarily the culture, they're willing to pay you something, you're going to go sign there if it's the most guaranteed money. I wonder how many guys, though, are going to get kind of turned off by Denver just seeing what happened to Russ this past year.
We talk as players. If I'm about to go to a team, I'm making a phone call. Hey, bro, how was your experience with the Las Vegas Raiders? Hey, bro, how was your experience with the Commanders? We talk all the time. How's this coach? How's that coach? And so it is a real brotherhood. It is a real fraternity. If it comes down to $10 million here, $8 million there, for my happiness, I'll take a little bit less to be in the right situation. I promise you, I'll take a little bit less to be in the right situation, the right scenario, because you don't want to play for some guy that you don't feel cares about your well-being, someone that talks to you any kind of way. I promise you, guys, we want to make the right decisions for our happiness first.
Let's just say Russ and the Steelers can't find a way to get something done. What else? Who else jumps out to you? Is it the Raiders? Is it Atlanta? Is it maybe Minnesota if they move on from Kirk Cousins? Who's the next team if it's not Pittsburgh?
Well, Atlanta Falcons clearly need a quarterback. I personally think that's Justin Fields' destination. Justin Fields in the Atlanta Falcons makes all the sense in the world. They need a quarterback. I can't even think of their quarterback now. Who's the Atlanta Falcons starting quarterback?
Desmond Ritter or was that Taylor Heineke as well? Both of those guys ain't it.
Exactly. And so Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, go to the Atlanta Falcons. That is my next destination. Bijan Robinson is going to be a superstar in this league. He's going to be a superstar. Kyle Pitts, we haven't figured him out. He has all the physical traits. He just needs a quarterback to bring him alive. And obviously Drake London is going to be a stud as well. So this offense is ready. This offense is prepared to really make some noise and take over that division. Get them a real quarterback in the building. The sky's the limit for those guys.
Now, I would have said maybe there was a chance of this happening if Pete was still the coach. But we are past right now the potential reunion of Russ going back to Seattle, correct?
No, the owner's still there. The GM's still there. Equipment manager, no, it's not happening in Seattle. No, that ship has long sailed.
Yeah,
he's going to be in the Ring of Honor, but he won't play there.
So let me use your defensive mind here for a second. We're all trying to figure out how to slow down the Chiefs. you played on a great defense. That LOB, let's say, was going up against Mahomes. How would you guys approach him?
First, we would have started inside out. We would have started inside out, and when I say inside, we would have focused all on number 87. Defensive lineman, when he's right there, number 3, you chip him, you hit him, you get him off his track. When we go man to man, KJ, you play outside. Cam Chancellor, you play inside and over the top. You cannot let him take over a game. You cannot let those guys just pitch and catch and have a field day. And so we would have started there. But with our pass rush, Zach, guys, cage rush Patrick Mahomes. Cage rush him. By that, I mean, don't let him step up in those B gaps, but let him step up in those A gaps like we saw in the Super Bowl to where he was able to win the ball game. And so you got to be disciplined with this guy, because when he takes off running, he could run, throw it, or he can just simply run it and pick up the first down. And so it starts right there in the middle. It starts up front, staying disciplined with these guys. Hey, Valdez Scantley, okay, whatever. Mikael Hardman, whatever. Sherman, Maxwell, you handle those guys. Right here in the heart of this defense is how you got to slow those guys down to give yourself a chance.
And you guys know it too. The offense has to help them out too, because San Francisco in that first half, they should have been up by a whole lot more. And when you leave someone like Mahomes or Brady in a game and they're in striking distance, I don't care how great your defense is, eventually they're going to find a way to get that game tied up.
And then that comes back to the whole conversation, game manager or game changer. And you need a quarterback to manage the game. You need a quarterback to do the little things right, to pick up this first down here or there. But when it's nut cutting time, when it's time to hoist the Lombardi trophy, I need a game changer on this 4th and 1. I need to put the ball in your hands, and you're going to find a way to execute and lead us to the promised land. And so when Cam Newton was saying all of that stuff, I was like, bro, you need to have game manager type of personality. You need a game manager type of traits. But obviously, when it's really time to get it done, to really execute, you need that game changer person on your football team.
And you know what's crazy? You look back at that Super Bowl. I don't think Brock Purdy played great, but he wasn't horrible. Like, he gave a good performance. It was amazing how many of the playmakers didn't show up. I know Debo was dealing with something. Kittle basically did nothing. Ayuk, they didn't target him enough. And as great as McCaffrey is, I love McCaffrey, he fumbled the football on the first drive of the game. That's what was stunning to me about the Niners, was how we all talked about the quarterback, but really the pieces around him did nothing in the big game.
Let's not forget about the play caller either.
Yeah.
Once again, Shanahan, you're up.
Choked up a lead. You didn't run it.
You choked up. You choked. It got a little tight for him. The moment got too big once again for Kyle Shanahan. And so when he's talking about being in those situations, doing the little things right, hey, let's actually run the football in this situation. Let's not call a timeout when our defensive coordinator is in his zone and trying to he blew it once again. And so he has to take a deep look in the mirror and say, hey, I didn't quite maximize the talent I have on this roster. Obviously, the guys need to show up more, but he definitely was another piece of that puzzle that didn't show up when they needed them the most.
All right, last thing that I'll ask you before I let you go back to enjoying home, as KJ Wright is here with us. How far away are the Seahawks? Made the playoffs a year ago, missed it this past year. We look inside that division. We know the Niners aren't going anywhere. The Rams are only going to be better. The Cardinals are going to continue to roll with Kyler Murray. How far is Seattle from getting back to potentially being a championship contender again?
3 years.
So
3 years.
Are they going through a rebuild now, you're saying?
No, they're going to win 9. They're going to win 8-9 games. They're going to be competitive. But when you're talking about winning your division, we're talking about getting that first round bye. When you're talking about making a deep playoff run, you got 3 years. They have a lot of good pieces.
They do.
A lot of good pieces. But get your franchise guy who's going to be your franchise quarterback. Keep adding pieces and on that secondary. Keep adding pieces at linebacker. Both Jordan Brooks, Bobby Wagner are free agents. So they got a lot of decisions to make. But find who's going to be your quarterback. Let McDonald continue to build out this roster, implement this culture. And I believe in Coach Carroll's 4th year, if I'm not mistaken. That's when he came in there. He changed everything around. Made the most transactions in NFL history, like over 100. He built the team that he wanted to build. And in 3 or 4 years, Coach Carroll got his Super Bowl. So I'm saying they're going to strike gold once again with McDonald.
He is KJ Wright, of course, the former linebacker for the Las Vegas Raiders and most remembered with his playing days with the Seattle Seahawks. Make sure you check out his podcast, KJ All Day Podcast. and also the KJ Wright Show on Seattle's ESPN 710 AM. Enjoy home. Always appreciate you jumping on board with us, KJ.
I will. Thank you, Zach.
You got it. There he is, KJ Wright, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. I loved it. I said it from the day where Russell Wilson and the Broncos, we practically knew were done. I threw out 2 destinations. One was Pittsburgh and one was Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta would be a bad destination. I don't think it's going to be the number one target for them. I think Atlanta's either going to trade up in the draft or they're going to go bring in Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields. I think there's enough options there where before you get to your last option that's still serviceable, and Russ could still be serviceable, where Russ won't wind up in Atlanta. But you look at the Steelers, I don't think they'll end up doing it, but they should. Kenny Pickett's not the answer. Mason Rudolph's probably going to go somewhere else in free agency. And here's the thing, what you need to understand with Russ. He's not great anymore. He still showed this year, though, he could be solid. He could be good. And you got to remember, it's going to come on an insanely cheap one-year deal. Like, I'm talking about nothing because he just got a brand new extension. Didn't even get to the extension, and now Denver's going to move off from him. And I can guarantee you this, Russ will be better than Kenny Pickett. Russ will be better than Mason Rudolph next year. And look what those guys just did this year, making the 7th spot in the wild card and the last wild card spot with the 7th seed with not having a lot of good quarterback play. I think for a year or two, a stopgap move until you find your next guy, Russ would be a good one for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. When we come on back, we'll give you my top 5 NBA storylines for the rest of the season. Coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. I'm in a little bit of a weird situation right now. I need to trust Stu, and if I can't trust Stu, then I have to trust Samter. And the reason I say that is because I went to go exit the studio at about 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and there's a big metal handle on the door that's bolted into the wall, and I gently went to go open the door, and the handle fell off. Now, the top part was the part that got dislodged, and the bottom part was still there, so you could open up the door, but the handle felt like it was going to fall off. Well, engineering during the KJ Wright interview was working on the door, and I don't know if they're trying to send me a message or not, but they took the handle off the door. And this is a huge door, and there's nothing for me to hold on to open the door right now. So they have trapped me in this studio. So I just need to set a reminder here, and maybe Stu and Samter can set an alarm on their phone. When the show ends at 5:55 p.m. Eastern time today, so in a little over than half an hour, one of you knuckleheads better open up the door for me and push the door open, or else I'm trapped here until the great Amy Lawrence tries to come do a radio program tonight. And that's the other thing. Amy tonight is going to be trapped in here. Well, at least James Baccioni will be here. But this is now a problem. Like, can you imagine if someone, I don't know, maybe Shep tonight. Let's not tell Shep. Shep just innocently comes walking into the studio, do like a little meeting with Bart. And there's not a lot of people here as you get later and later into the day and into the evening. Imagine Shep comes in here before the show starts and he goes to do like a promotional video, or he goes to record something he was going to post online, and then the door shuts and he doesn't realize what happens with the door handle. Because I have a thought that engineering is going to be able to fix this quickly. But in case that they don't, I would actually think it's funny if they actually don't fix the handle and see if anyone gets trapped in here in the next 24 hours. But at least you guys, you got to do me a solid, and you at least have to try to get me on out of here at the end of the show.
We don't have to do anything.
Well, that wouldn't be nice.
Listen, I love you, Zach, but I'm a radio producer. I'm a producer of a show. Mm-hmm. My responsibility is to the on-air product, not to you. What would be better radio? You getting stuck in the studio, or you getting out and just going home and going about your business?
Well, the show ends at 6. It would be a good social media thing.
We have cameras and microphones everywhere. We can record whatever the heck we want.
Yeah, that's a good point. All righty. If I am stuck in a dark alley, the last person I'm calling, this is what I learned, is Michael Samter. Now, Stu, I don't think I'd be calling on you to help me fight, but I do think Stu would at least, out of the kindness of his heart, the sweet Stuart Kovacs would at least do the easy thing of just opening the door there.
You would think that, but I'm kind of with Mike. And I think I would like to see the idea.
You're a jackass as well.
For social media.
And now Ack just joined me and the door just closed because you could only get in, you can't get out. So now Ack, with Sam, Ack is now banging on the door. He's already he's already had enough of me. Ack is as red as a lobster right now. Oh, my goodness gracious.
You know, we just added more drama to the mix. Zach and Ack stuck in the studio.
Yeah.
Zach and Ack at 9. I love it.
Yeah. So, Ack, there is a chance here because Samter and Stu both just said that they think it'd be funny on air content if they just didn't open the door for me at the end and I had to, live stream everything. Now you're stuck on this island with me.
Yeah, I'm not happy about that. I got the short straw.
We could you know what? I was going to say.
Ouch, right.
I could say that we could have ordered some Uber Eats, some Peter Lugers, but no one would probably go downstairs to go get the food for us.
It would be good because they could open the door if they can get up.
Yeah. Well, this would be one way to have some radio bonding.
Yeah, not bad.
Zach and Ack just sitting in the studio.
So I didn't realize when I last left the studio, you had just pulled the door, the handle off the top part. I didn't see now there's no handle at all.
So they came in and they detached the bottom part as they're in the process of replacing the door handle.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Yeah.
Except I didn't realize that when I let the door close behind.
You're stuck with me, Ack.
It's like an episode of Happy Days when they got stuck in the vault at Cunningham Hardware. Potsy closed the door.
Listen, I loved Happy Days back in the day, but a Happy Days reference, I can't relate. It's been so long since I've seen that show. I don't even remember any of that.
Do you remember that show? Who was it? Who Wants to Be? Was it a millionaire or billionaire? I think it was millionaire, right?
Millionaire, yeah. Who Wants to Be a Billionaire would be a much more enjoyable show.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't have the funding for that show. But I feel like if I was ever on that show, if they ever brought it back, if I needed to call the friend option, I think I would call Ack.
I was once a potential call the friend option. And let me tell you, I was plenty nervous. Like they do a whole thing. You have to stand by. They tell you we're going to be shooting from 3 to 4, and you have to be by the phone. And I'm here. I was at work.
Well, Regis Philbin, right?
Yeah,
he was the one that hosted that show.
Yes,
and that was one of your good friends.
But my brother's friend went on the show.
Okay,
and if it was a sports question, he asked if I could be his go-to guy.
Yeah, because you're like an almanac.
And I said, I kind of really hedged. I didn't want to do it, but
you thought you would get nervous? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, but here's the thing: he's calling you for help.
Yeah, but you want to be right. But it was really intense. I ultimately agreed to do it. Thankfully, they didn't need me.
Oh, you didn't get called?
You have to be on the phone with them the whole time. In case
they need to go to you.
Yes, and you have to sit there, and I'm like, I have to go do an update.
Oh yeah,
but you're sitting there.
Update anchor cost guy $1 million because he was doing his job,
and they're like, he's in the chair right now. They're taking you through it. It was a really intense thing, and I remember being very nervous about it. I was so relieved when he was done and he didn't need the sports. There wasn't a sports question. Though.
Yeah, but I can't believe that you just found a way to work a reference here.
Thank you.
Impromptu about a door that you didn't even know was fully shut, and we'd be stuck here until someone would open up the door for us.
Yeah, Happy Days, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire reference. You got everything. Who needs Samter?
I will say this. My claim to fame when it comes to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is when I lived in London back in 2001.
You lived in London?
Yeah, I lived in London for a little while.
Were you studying abroad?
Yeah, I was studying abroad.
Okay, so you were studying abroad. You weren't living in London.
I lived in London for 6 months.
No, but when you say you live in London, you think that you moved there and you started work there. You were studying abroad.
It was Ted Lasso.
I was studying and working in London for 6 months. I guess that doesn't count as living. And I was working for a soccer club. That's how I got so into soccer.
Don't be a wanker. Continue.
When I was there was a guy on the British Who Wants to Be a Millionaire who got to the $1 million question.
They stole that from us?
No, we stole from them.
Oh, we did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Blame Regis. Regis took it away from them. And the guy got to the $1 million question, and I knew the answer to the $1 million question without even seeing the results because I knew the question. It was an American history question, which in England is probably more difficult than it is for us.
Wait, time out. I'm lost here. So how did you
I mean, I was just watching it on TV.
Oh, you were watching the show.
On TV. He got to the $1 million question.
In or something to offer this guy help.
No, I would have loved to. I'm sitting there, I'm like, phone me. I know the answer. But obviously, I've never met the guy, and he didn't phone me. So
I'm not intelligent enough to be on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, even if they still did it here in America. I don't think they do the show anymore. I know it's 100% true. I know sports. When you get into other things, no, not me. C's get degrees. That was my philosophy when I was at Temple University. I'm sure they love me saying that now in a national radio program. The show I always wanted to be on, though, was Cash Cab. Cash Cab, when you get into the cab and the lights go off, they ask you all these like multiple choice questions. I thought Cash Cab would be very fun. Wheel of Fortune would also be good, and The Price is Right. I think I would be elite, not just good. Like I'm talking Joe Flacco elite. At the Price is Right. That was just a show that I always enjoyed as a kid. And also, I think we'd be good as a show at the time the Jerry Springer show. I think we would have been good on that show, just yelling, hooting, and hollering, going nuts.
That's not a game show.
No, I know that's not a game show. I know that didn't belong with the others, but
okay.
Yeah, Jerry Springer. My Uncle Freddie always loved watching the Jerry Springer show. He would wake up in the morning and watch the Jerry Springer show. It was always very interesting.
Would we do one of those like paternity tests? Find out, like, maybe you or I have sons running around and little kids in different states.
As I told you a few weeks ago, I don't have any kids that I know of.
Zach Gelb, you are not the father.
That would be very good. All righty, we'll take a timeout. I think the rails or the train just got off the train track.
Or the handle got off the door.
Yes. I don't even... How the heck are we going to get out of here?
Well, we're going to have to rely on either Stu Samper.
No, but here's the problem.
Ryan?
I don't feel good about this because if it was just me, I think someone would let me out. But you are like the prankster around the office here, and you play a lot of pranks on Stu, Samter, and Hickey. This is how I know I'm just screwed. I need Stu, Samter, or Hickey to help me out, and I'm dealing with Ack, who's to my left, who plays pranks on those guys all the time.
I haven't done anything to Ryan yet. I've kind of...
Oh, Bodger's there. That's a good point. You can barely see him.
He's training today. If you want to get the job, you better open the door.
Yeah. Ack has a lot of clout here. Ack will also make sure that you pay your union dues instantly the minute you get the job as well. All righty. We'll come on back. My top 5 NBA storylines for the rest of the season. We return update time first. I was about to get up after I toss it over to him, but I can't get out of the studio until Samter or Stu be a kind civilian, so let's hope they're that. Here he is, the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio.
Sports Flag.
Well, after winning 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, the Chiefs don't want Andy Reid going anywhere, and he doesn't want to either, as the two sides are reportedly in talks about an extension that would make Reid the highest-paid coach in the game. T. Higgins may be Robin and Jamar Chase's Batman, but the Bengals certainly recognize his value. They're going to hang on to the veteran wideout by reportedly using the franchise tag on him, which would pay him over $21 million next year. The Knicks were buoyed by a strong showing in January before injuries hit hard in February, threatening to derail that strong month. They're currently 3-6 this month, but have a chance to pad their win total tonight when they host the Pistons, whose 146 winning percentage is the worst in the NBA. Tom Thibodeau's team coming off a loss to the Celtics, but he's at least encouraged by those injured being close to returning.
They're doing what they can, so it's great they're in the gym every day now. And so they're making good, steady progress, and, hopefully, soon they'll be back.
WNBA MVP Breanna Stewart reportedly returning to the Liberty on a 1-year deal. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, this is Bart Winkler. I've got a new show weeknights. Join me for the Bart Winkler Show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Only on CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, it's time to answer our Ask the Pros question of the day, and it's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. David in Framingham says, Zach, What's the biggest NBA storyline the rest of this season? You could submit a question by tweeting at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. You can think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. I'll give you my top 5 biggest storylines. I'll go from 5 to 1. In at number 5 is the Nuggets repeating. The Nuggets beat the Warriors the other day by 16 points. Not that the Warriors are a good team this year, but I think a lot of people, it's weird to say people are sleeping on the Nuggets because they're a game and a half out of the top spot of the Western Conference and they just won a championship. But I was on the Nuggets train before anybody, and I said as long as Jamal Murray could stay healthy, this is a team that could absolutely win a championship. I think last night was just a reminder of what the Nuggets can be. You have the Joker go for a triple-double where he had 16 assists, 16 rebounds, and 30-something points. Jamal Murray adds in 27. And you see that duo. It's the best duo in the NBA right now. And we're now in an era of dynamic duos. And not only that, Nikola Jokic is kind of Patrick Mahomes-esque. And what I mean by that is you could think a team is vulnerable or you could think someone can be stopped. But right now, Nikola Jokic is the best magician that the NBA has, where everyone can give you an idea of how to stop him, but no one can actually stop him. And as long as Jamal Murray is healthy, I don't think the Nuggets are going down in the postseason. I believe they're going to repeat as NBA champions. So number 5, it's can the Nuggets repeat? Number 4, will the Clippers or the Suns come out of the Western Conference? I look at the Suns as it's a team you won't really see what they're capable of until the postseason. And the Clippers, the last 2 years, haven't been poor in the postseason, but they've just been injured. So it's going to come down to health. Number 3, how are we talking about LeBron and Steph Curry at the end of the year? The Lakers, underwhelming. The Warriors, underwhelming. So, in all likelihood, unless there's some crazy run by one of these two players or one of these two teams, the topic is going to be, how could we fix the Lakers? How could we fix the Golden State Warriors? And we all know LeBron James is going to opt out, and there's been some speculation that maybe he'll team up with Steph in the Bay Area, or he'll just stay with the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm just curious how we're talking about LeBron and Steph at the end of the year and what changes it will still spark to try to maximize the championship window that each still does have. Number 2, will the Bucks rebound? Right now, the Bucks are in a negative state where they are the team that going into the year, everyone tabbed as the team. And even when their record was fine, there were problems on that team. It led to the firing of their coach. And now there's a lot of negativity because of some of the playoff misfortunes of the past surrounding Doc Rivers. And a lot of people don't believe Doc Rivers should be a coach anymore in the NBA. It's rocky right now. It is bumpy right now. There's a lot of turbulence. Still, though, you go into the playoffs with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you have Damian Lillard and also closer Chris Middleton and a group that won a championship not that long ago, and you still are looking for Damian Lillard to go get his first championship. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucks rebound, but there's been a lot of negativity directed their way. And then at number 1, to answer David in Framingham's question, what's the biggest storyline? I think it's actually the Boston Celtics. They have been great this year on the court. They improved this offseason, getting Kristaps Porzingis, getting Drew Holiday. They have a better team this year than the last few years. They're by far and away the best team right now in the NBA. That doesn't mean you're going to win a championship, because I still think the Nuggets are the team to beat. And I wouldn't mind if we see a Boston-Denver championship, or a Milwaukee Bucks-Denver championship would be fun too, with the two best players in the league in Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Jokic. But for the Boston Celtics, they've been there the last few years. They have been to an NBA Finals. They've been in numerous conference finals as well, and they keep on coming up short. This year, it's open. Like earlier, I compared, Nikola Jokic to Patrick Mahomes. The Celtics are kind of like the Ravens. That's what I would say, where they've been there, or the Buffalo Bills. They've been there, but they haven't got over the hump. At least for the Celtics case, they've been to the NBA Finals before with this group, but now it's about winning a championship. And this year, you don't have that many strong teams, so you should be able to bare minimum get to the finals, and then we'll see if you could end up winning a championship. And a big thank you to our engineers, by the way. Oh, that was a magnificent job. They were like a NASCAR pit crew. They came in here while I was on the air. They fixed the door handle. And now I still have 6 or 7 minutes before we get off air, so I don't have to rely on Stu or Samter. So the joke's on you two. Here's what I learned about you two guys. If you guys are ever in a tough situation, not team players, not willing to help out, you know, your boy, Zach Gelb, you guys are going to leave me stranded here in the studio when I pulled off that door handle lever and I was trapped in here. Engineering comes in. They saved the day. They were an elite radio show pit crew. And they fixed that door handle in what, less than 40, 45 minutes? And now I don't have to rely on you two Scrooges to try to get me on out of here. So good on engineering. I know they got my back. Samter, Stu, I don't know if you guys have my back anymore.
Just for the record, I'm only not having your back in situations that are beneficial for the show.
Oh.
If we're like in a dark alley and some guy comes at you, I'm there at your defense. Now, granted, I probably bring my phone out and I film it so that we can maybe use it as content for social or on the show.
Or a litigious situation, too. We get some more money.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll probably whip the phone out, record the situation, but I'll be there for you.
Yeah.
In situations like if we're at a restaurant or a bar, you forget your credit card, I'll pay the bill, right? If we're in a situation where we're stuck somewhere, I'll help you out. I'll be there for you.
Okay.
As long as it doesn't negatively impact the quality of the show or the social media content that we can provide.
So talking about social media content, I'll get to this LeBron James Bronny stuff tomorrow. LeBron's basically saying, let Bronny be Bronny, stop projecting about his future. Well, as much as, you know, here's the problem with LeBron. I like LeBron, and I think LeBron is an incredible father, but LeBron's perception of the way that he gets covered or people close to him gets covered is so out of whack. The only reason why people are obsessing about Bronny's future is because you told everyone that you envision of ending your career playing with your son. So that's why a lot of people talk about this, and that's why people obsess over it. So I don't want to end the show this way. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. But I noticed something when I was out on Thursday and Friday, and I parachuted in and was in the YouTube chat for a very, very small amount of time. Like on Thursday, all my friends' flights got delayed. I was in the Airbnb by myself, so I popped on the show for about 20, 25 minutes. Friday, I popped on the show for about 5 to 10 minutes. How many people got annoyed with posting a photo from the bachelor party of a shopping cart with all the food items in the shopping cart on Thursday night? I was mystified, Samter, by that response. And I heard that you were leading the charge when I wasn't here to basically stab me in the back.
Yeah, I was leading that charge.
You're now 2 strikes. 1 more strike, you're gone.
Well, listen, actually, Bart started the charge. And then social media, like
that ungrateful mother bleeper, Bart Winkler.
Andrew Perloff
I
wasn't
saved
on
his
the
radio
action.
career. You know, I let him fill in for me, and it led to him getting the national job after he got laid off, and he's stabbing me in the back? Is that what you're telling me?
I wouldn't say he was stabbing you in the back. He was more just kind of nudging you very gently into the ditch.
Friendly
maybe.
fire.
Yeah. Just kind of giving you a little nudge into a ditch.
And what was being said? Because I didn't hear this part.
I mean, your shopping cart was full of like Reese's peanut butter cups and Doritos and I don't know, Oreo double stuffed cookies. And basically, it just looked like you were shopping for like a 12-year-old's birthday party or Halloween. Certainly not a bachelor party where, like, bad things get done. So, first of all, it was the content.
Hold on.
Okay.
Now, real quickly. There was a ton of beer in the bottom of the shopping cart. There was a ton of seltzers as well in the shopping cart as well. There are 2 types of bachelor parties. There is a heavily drinking bachelor party, and then there's a Bob Marley kind of bachelor party. Let's just say the groom was closer to Bob Marley than, the elite beer drinker. And that's why there was a lot of snacks, if you catch my drift.
Okay,
those were elite snacks.
That definitely helps your case. But here was the other part of the conversation. This is the part that I brought up.
Yeah, and real quickly, everyone macho manning. Oh, I would have such a better spread, in the grocery, in the shopping cart. Give me a break. I love Guy Adami, but Guy Adami started all this because he quote tweeted saying, "What is this for a 12-year-old's birthday party?"
Yep.
Like, come on, Guy. I know how to have fun. I don't know if Guy Adami knows how to have fun.
That's basically what everyone was saying.
Yeah,
So
bunch of losers.
The content of your card, I'll give you
No
at least
fun losers.
I'll give you a mini pass for the content of your card based
Yeah.
off of your explanation. Those are definitely munchy type meals.
Yeah.
So I guess I can understand that. However, I have a
No
rule.
ganja time for Guy Adami, I can tell you that.
Apparently not, especially not in Orlando, Florida. I have a rule, though. Whatever happens in a bachelor party stays in a bachelor party. Under no circumstance does any picture or video, even the cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you go on a tour of Disneyland, no pictures, nothing. Because here's the thing, now that you had that cart picture out there, now you have to defend yourself, and now we know what was going on
Do you think I care?
Barmani-Wiles. Now, you
Twitter
might not,
pays me. That's good engagement.
you
People
might
engage.
not,
I get
but
money.
maybe a wife of one of the guys there, or one of the guys might find out his girlfriend or a parent, or his job now finds out what's going on at that party.
No.
You just never
People
post
have
any
dirty
pictures
minds.
from a bachelor party, even the good ones.
Nothing was bad. All I posted was a photo of me golfing, a photo at dinner, and then a photo of things that we may have enjoyed and called performance-enhancing substances after certain activities did partake.
The first rule of bachelor parties is there is no bachelor parties.
All righty. Samter, the czar of bachelor parties. Also the czar of not helping me out if I'm ever in trouble. We'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody. Have a good night. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.